Thank you, everybody. We're going to call the Apopka City Council February 21st meeting to order. We're going to give you the invocation, do the pledge, and then we got the fact today. So I'll stand, please. Bow our heads. Dear Lord, thank you for this democracy that we live in. Thank you for the city of Apopka and all the members here tonight. Bless all these families that are present, and make sure that they get home safely. And Jesus, be sure to keep watch over this council, that we can make the right decisions in your best honor, and that we give your praise and glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, on February 21st, 1885, the Washington Monument, built in honor of America's revolutionary hero and first president, is dedicated in Washington, D.C. Architect Robert Mills' hollow Egyptian obelisk design was accepted for the monument, and on July 4th, 1848, the cornerstone was laid. Work on the project was interrupted by political quarreling in the 1850s, and construction ceased entirely during the American Civil War. Finally, in 1876, Congress, inspired by the American Centennial, passed legislation appropriating $200,000 for completion of the monument. In February 1885, the Washington Monument, standing 550 feet high, was formally dedicated. The monument was the tallest structure in the world when completed, and remains today, by District of Columbia law, the tallest building in the nation's capital. Back to the day. Okay. All right, approval minutes. Any corrections? If not, look for motion to approve.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Becker.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Cliff Shepard, anything on the agenda we need to?
Yes, Mayor. Item 2 under the public hearings is going to be taken off and re-advertised. It was not advertised, which is why it must be removed from the agenda. So we have only one public hearing, and that's number 1.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Proclamation, Future Farmers of America. How about that? So let's see here. We have with us Caitlin Gorey. Where is she? I guess you're in charge here tonight. It's too bad Commissioner Smith, he's got a major issue in family, so he won't be with us tonight, but he's here in spirit for sure.
Awesome. I've worked with Commissioner Smith a couple of times, and he's just a wonderful voice for us in the City Council.
Yeah.
Well, good evening, ladies, gentlemen, council members, and Mr. Mayor. It is an honor to be here with you tonight to celebrate National FFA Week. My name is Ms. Caitlin Gorey, proud agriculture teacher and FFA advisor at Apopka High School. As not only a former Blue Darter myself, but an alumni of this organization, I cannot express the gratitude I feel towards your commitment and support of the National FFA organization. Across this room tonight, you will see what is infamously known as a sea of blue. In front of you tonight is a group of the best and brightest students your community has to offer. While FFA has historically been known as the Future Farmers of America, the National FFA organization today, while still rooted in agriculture, is now an organization that represents a plethora of careers. Amongst you in this crowd tonight are future agriculturists, but there's also a future doctor, scientist, professional dancer, politician, teacher, small business owner, and maybe even our very next city council member. Despite the career they may choose, I think we can all agree, looking across this room, the future generation is bright and the future is in good hands. Thank you, council members, for continuing to support your local FFA chapters and in return, supporting the future generation of leaders.
Awesome. Thank you. That's boy. What We have with us tonight Apopka High School, Wekiva High School, Apopka Memorial Middle School, Wolf Lake Middle School, and Piedmont Lakes Middle School. So thank you all for coming out here tonight. Yes. So I guess what we'll try to do, we'll get them each school by itself. So we'll start with Apopka High School. If Apopka High School, all your students come down and we'll be facing the lady with the camera and we'll get a picture. Yeah. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and read the proclamation, then we'll get the picture. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, the proclamation reads, whereas the Future Farmers of America, FFA, and agricultural education provide a strong foundation for the youth of America and future of the food, fiber, and natural resource systems. And whereas FFA promotes premier leadership, personal growth, and career success among its members. And whereas agricultural education and the FFA ensure a steady supply of young professionals to meet the growing demand in the science, business, and technology of agricultural education. And whereas the FFA motto, learning to do, doing to learn, earning to live, living to serve, gives direction and purpose to these students who take an active role in making the connection to agricultural education. And whereas FFA promotes citizenship, volunteerism, patriotism, and cooperation, and whereas FFA chapters have been very active in Apopka and have made many contributions to school and community life. Now, therefore, I, Brian Nelson, Mayor of the City of Apopka, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the City of Apopka, do hereby proclaim February 17th through February 24th, 2024 to be Future of Farmers of America Week. So come on out.
All right, here, and look, y'all look back this way.
No, this, it's on this side. Look at that. Okay, we got high school. Come down. Yes, that's on this side.
Have you put in that?
Yeah, you're not more a little.
Okay. Wait till they clear up.
You got a lady over here, right here in front, on the side of the road. This is Melissa Hamilton, she is the supervisor of the agricultural council.
Right. All right, next up, we have the Legends of Apopka, Black History Month. Is Francina Boykin here? I don't see her. Or Stephen Cribb? Either one of them? Okay, anyway, all right. Well, anyway, we are having our celebration on the 27th and for Black History Month. And want to give a big shout out to Stephen Cribb and Francina Boykin and the Apopka Youth Council for putting together this booklet. It's our Black History Month booklet. You know, this is our second annual. And what we decided a couple of years ago when we put the first book together is that what we wanted to do was to celebrate leaders in Apopka that have passed away. Because what we wanted to do is to those people that have passed away in the early 1900s, we don't want to lose their stories. And so, I asked when they started to put these lists together, I said, let's make sure they're deceased so that we can go back and find some folks from way back, born in the 1800s that we can honor in this booklet. So what I want to do is I'll read the proclamation, but let me start out by, I know that, the kids, they were all working hard to get us, the information they needed to make it a really worthwhile booklet. You can buy the booklet. We'll have it out in front at the front desk. They're $10, and then you can come the 27th. We'll have a big celebration. But let me read to you the Legends of Apopka. There's 29 because it's a leap year. So what we did is we have one for each day of the month of February, and this being a leap year makes it 29. So we've got Jimmy Baker Jr., Reverend William Bell, Albert Boykin, John Henry Bridges, Reverend Dr. Herman Lee Derrico, Hannah Dixon Andrews, Bertha Gladden, Ethel May Grant, Richard Lois Jabo Grant, John Hickey, Eddie Justice, Jackie Lee Massey Sr., Rosa Aprina McFadden Grubbs, Clifford James McKenzie, Leroy Victor Millsap Jr., Irma Lee Carey Peterson, Prince Pollard Sr., Leonard Rand, Martha J. Richardson, Eartha May Salmon, Wilfred Sanders Sr., Herbert Scott Sr., Dr. Reverend Mayetta Sexton, Dr. Shirley Sharp Terrell, Frank Smith, Hannah Williams, Alonzo Williams Jr., Jesse Williams, and Chanel Latanya Wright. So with that, I want to go ahead and read the proclamation and hope everybody can come out on the 27th. It will be at the community center, 6 to 8 o'clock. We've got music. Should be some exhibits there as well. So it should be a good night to celebrate all of these history makers from Apopka. Whereas February is Black History Month, an annual celebration of achievements by African Americans and a time for recognizing their central role in U.S. history. And whereas the origins of Black History Month began in 1915 with historian Carter G. Woodson and minister Jesse E. Moreland. That year, they founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, an association dedicated to researching and promoting achievements by Black Americans. The organization later became known as the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And whereas in 1926, the association started the National Negro History Week and chose the second week of February to coincide with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass as a week to commemorate achievements by the African American community. And whereas through the efforts of Woodson and Moreland, schools, communities, and colleges organized local celebrations as well as history clubs and performances. In the decades following this historic week, the event grew and evolved into what eventually became known as Black History Month. And whereas in 1976, President Ford officially recognized Black History Month, and since then, every American president has designated February as Black History Month with a specific theme. For 2024, the theme is African American and the Arts. Now, therefore, I, Brian Nelson, Mayor of the City of Apopka, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim February 2024 as Black History Month here in the City of Apopka. So, thank you. Thank you. Thanks. All right. Next up, we have the Miss Apopka presentation. And let's see, is Rosalie, she's not here tonight? No? Okay. All right. Well, Riley, why don't you come up and just tell us a little bit, and I'll go over what your accomplishments were, but give us a little background on what you've done over this last.
Sure. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Riley Cardella, and I had the privilege to be crowned Miss Apopka 2024 at the Miss Apopka competition back in December. For those of you unfamiliar, the Miss America Opportunity is a scholarship organization for women that provides scholarships for women throughout the entire country. As Miss Apopka, I had the privilege to be awarded $2,000 in scholarship dollars, and I'll use my service as Miss Apopka to promote my platform called Gold Strong Care Packages for Childhood Cancer. My story goes back to when I was 12 years old. I lost my best friend Cassie to acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which is a type of blood cancer commonly found in children. A few years ago, I decided to turn my grief into advocacy, and I started a 501c3 nonprofit organization in Cassie's honor, where I've dedicated my life to spreading joy to kids fighting cancer. I've sent care packages full of favorite toys to 3 countries and 23 states. I've hosted 7 toy drives in Central Florida, and I am so proud to say that I've raised $15,000 for childhood cancer awareness. Thank you. Thank you. As Miss Apopka, I actually have a community service project happening starting March 1st, coming up very soon. I'm going to have a local community toy drive. There are drop-off locations currently, 5 different locations. All of the toys are going to be donated to children on the pediatric oncology unit at Advent Health Children's Hospital. I'm hoping to collect $5,000 worth of brand new toys. So if you're feeling in good spirits and want to participate, you can head to my Instagram at Miss Apopka. There's actually an Amazon wish list where you can choose to purchase to send a toy directly to the drive, or you can visit any of the drop-off locations to help spread joy for kids fighting cancer, all in honor of my friend Cassie. Today, I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Brian Nelson and the entire Board of Commissioners. I had the privilege as Miss Apopka to get a portrait sponsored right here at Apopka City Hall. It was by Con Studio Photography. Dan and Nancy took a beautiful portrait of me today. And I'm here today to unveil the portrait and just celebrate this amazing honor to be Miss Apopka. I'm so excited to get all of you and get this year of service going. Thank you so much.
Before we get the picture, Commissioner Velasquez, I know you serve on the committee, so I didn't know if you had any words of.
Well, I have been serving on the Miss Apopka now, I think 7 years, probably a little longer. But every year we hold a competition, and it's such a wonderful experience having all the young ladies come in here and compete. And then what happens at the end of the competition is I really embrace all of them. But definitely when we have our crowning Miss Apopka, one of the things I do is make sure that she is at many of our events here in the city, because it's a way of promoting not only our city, but certainly promoting an opportunity for our young women. That's also a way of earning scholarships. So congratulations, Riley. You have really taken, the last few months, you've kind of gone on your own. And I know you've been in the city and that. So we look forward to seeing you more often. And congratulations.
All right. All right, we've got 5 consent agenda items. Does anybody need to pull any?
I think public comment first.
I'm sorry, public comment. Yes, Susan?
So, Najee?
Yeah, all right, I have no idea how I'm going to top that. Congratulations to Ms. Apopka again. Hello, everyone. I'm Coach Najee, president and co-founder of Central Florida Soccer Club. We're a local Apopka-based nonprofit 501c3 organization dedicated to serving children in our community. Every year for the last, I think for almost 15 years, we've been trying to go ahead and start a competitive soccer club in our community. However, we could never get our affiliation because of what's called a 15-mile rule by the state association, where it says that any new club can't get affiliation if they're within 15 miles of another club. So needless to say, finally, around 3 years ago, we were finally able to get our affiliation approved and start our 3 major goals for the club. One is having a club in our backyard so players and parents do not have to travel 45 minutes to an hour plus to play competitive soccer somewhere else. The other one, number 2, was teaching the game of soccer properly to the kids in our community. I've personally volunteered for Apopka Rec for 8 years, and technically I'm still volunteering for Apopka Rec. And from my experience, kids that go to Apopka Rec soccer, if they don't have, a qualified coach, knowledgeable coach, find out that when they wanted to go out and try out for another club, they ended up being cut and eventually dropping out from the sport altogether, which is kind of, disheartening to us as a soccer club. The third goal of ours was, and a very important one for me as well, is giving back to the community in an impactful way. We want our players, members to be involved in giving back, helping the less fortunate, and making a difference in our community. In late 2020, after securing our state affiliation, we had literally no players, no coaches, no staff, no funding, and no fields. Today, less than 3 years later, We have close to 400 registered players, more than 50 coaches, staff, volunteers, and we serve an additional 300 to 500 kids in summer and winter with our indoor programs. In 2023 alone, we provided more than $30,000 in financial aid for kids who otherwise would not be able to participate in competitive soccer. That's equivalent to sending 85 to 150 kids to play in Apopka Rec Soccer, Little League, or Pop Warner for free. We also provided uniform kits and equipment for players that were on financial aid. We led a food drive back in October for Dream Lake Elementary and Rock Springs Elementary schools, in which more than 4,000 items of food were donated to help hundreds of families eat during Thanksgiving and Christmas breaks. We provided free clinics for Apopka Rec coaches and players. Also, we also provided, Apopka Rec Soccer with our coaches for coaching teams during the season. Provided opportunities for coaching, training, and volunteering for more than 20 high school age students in the community. We also provide every Friday night free play opportunities for everyone that wants to come out and play soccer, whether they played before, didn't play before, part of the club, not part of the club, young, old, whatever it is. We pay for the fields so people can come out and just kind of play and be together. We also sponsored Teacher Appreciation Week for local schools, and we actually do a lot more than that, but we don't always toot our horn. So why am I here today? Simple. We need more fields. And when I say we, I mean everyone. Apopka Rec Soccer needs more fields, flag football, baseball, Pop Warner, softball, tennis, volleyball. I know we don't have pickleball yet, but we need pickleball as well. And also our club needs more fields. If you don't mind, I only have like 30 seconds.
No,
Thank you. Plus, I'm sure Radley and his staff need more fields as well to better manage the facility and rotate fields to ensure high standards achieved and quality is maintained. Our city has grown exponentially over the last 15 years, from around 38,000 people to probably 60,000 today. That's more of a 55% or more increase. Yet we haven't added one field during that time. So my question is, what is the city's plan over the next 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and beyond to address this? And how can we, as a club and as a community, help so our children continue to have a place where they can thrive? Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
thank you.
Mr. Najee, I just want to say that that's been a discussion with the recreational director. I mean, we've gotten so many emails from you, from parents, and it is being addressed. Unfortunately, Mr. Bradley is not, he's not here today.
He's in the
but-
back of the room.
Where is he? Oh, he's back? There he is. So that's something that we will follow up with.
Well, are there other speakers from your club tonight? I was going to wait until after.
Oh, okay.
the entire group. Because clearly, we don't get this much traffic in city council
No.
chambers without many speakers, so look forward to
How
hearing.
many do we have?
Well, yeah, did you fill out a form? I haven't yet. Okay.
Okay.
So I have Kaylee Bradley.
Hello, I am a player for Central Florida Soccer Club. I've been here since there was one team, but I played at Apopka for longer than that. I started at Apopka Rec and wanted to stay local and needed a team that was not an hour drive. And that's where I found Central Florida Soccer Club. I have played with them, like I said, since there was one team, but over the course of those years playing, we've just seen a downhill slope in the way that our fields are treated. When we first started playing, I remember going to other fields and talking to my dad about how these are not as good as Apopka fields, and I wish we could play more home games. But recently it's been more, I wish we could play more away games, and our fields are not what they used to be. I remember picking bottle caps out of the 18 box and having to throw it off the field because I was worried about scraping my legs or my arms. Sorry, I'm shaking.
Take your time.
Thank you. Central Florida Soccer has also helped me in volunteering. I've benefited from those programs myself. I help volunteer sometimes on Saturdays with Little Fire, and I've seen the excitement of those kids' faces getting to play soccer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason Lloyd.
I'm in a different situation than most of the parents here. I don't have any kids that play soccer for Najee, but I did. Both my son and my daughter started playing with Najee when they were 9 years old. They're both in their 20s now. But I did have to drive far away for them to play club soccer because there wasn't one here. But when you go to the fields now, and my son still plays in a Sunday league out at the Fields of Fame, one of the big reasons that I came tonight, the big reason that we need more fields is because the fields are getting overused. When my kids did play recreational soccer when they were very small in Apopka, and back then the fields were fantastic. But when you have tournaments there every weekend and so many sports and not enough fields because there's so many kids, when the fields get into disrepair, I also have a daughter that tore both her ACLs playing soccer. So I know what it's like for parents to go through that. She did one in 8th grade and one in 10th grade. And the condition of the fields, can contribute to injuries in kids. And nobody did more for my kids growing up than Najee did as far as sports. He goes above and beyond trying to get kids involved and help kids out. And I just wanted to be here because, like I said, I've went through it. So I don't want other parents going through it because of the poor field conditions. And that's why we need more fields. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, I'll make some remarks because I have that ability to do so. And I only have a few more chances to do that. But first and foremost, I want to thank Coach Najee for advocating on behalf of the organization. I think it's a testament to your passion for the league, and clearly the amount of people that are in the room tonight is unexpected. I didn't realize this was happening, but it's always good to see a packed house. But just for the sake of argument, and what I will say is this is a great opportunity for you to coach in real life, not not on the field and coaching soccer, but what happens when you need something done for you and the process by which to do it. This is how it should be done. It's not an easy thing to do, especially getting up in a public environment. Kaylee, you did amazing. I've been at that lectern too, and I get shaky voice and out of breath and all that good stuff, but you did great. But just by show of hands with people wearing the red shirts or people advocating, how many of you all are taxpayers in the city? A whole bunch of you. And yet this board a lot of times squabbles over percentage points of a millage rate when it can mean having monies to do the exact precise things that you all are asking us to do. This board, the last budget season, I want this audience to hear it because you don't hear this every day. You're here for a purpose, and what you don't hear is what happens in these chambers. This body decided not to increase our millage rate slightly so we could have $500,000 more because we didn't know where to put it. But it's stuff like this tonight that it's in your face, front and center. We know exactly where we're going to put it. Yes, we have a little bit of expansion in terms of tennis courts and pickleball for this budget year, and thanks to Mr. Williams for spearheading that. I know that he's felt the pains of trying to have premier and pristine fields, even though he doesn't have the benefit of this council giving him the funding he needs to expand the fields for that proper rest. But please encourage this council to keep on coming and saying, hey, it's not at the end of the day saving $12 a year on your tax bill. If it means that you're playing on bad fields, how much is that going to be in terms of doctor expense when you're having to pay for a broken ankle? mean, people put things in perspective. And I would encourage this board to, we've got millions of dollars sitting in a bank. We are well above what is supposed to be a well-funded general fund reserve. That money is doing nothing. It's reserved to do nothing but make us feel comfortable at night. Let's not. We've got close to 25%, maybe 30% of our expenditures tied up in reserve balances. That's just kind of earning some money. But this is what it should be allocated towards, and fight for it. And Coach Najee, thank you for doing this. It's something that we all need to hear, and it's something that we're not doing right now. But whatever needs to be done, budget allocations, if Mr. Williams wants to come back and say, hey, here's what it's going to cost to expand fields into the undeveloped portion of the northwest side of that property, and have this council react to it, you have an advocate on me. I'm here till April 17th. Would be happy to do so. But thank you.
Did you want to speak? Did you want to speak?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm a parent of a couple children that have been with the Central Florida Soccer Club for a few years.
Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Douglas
Just your
Bauman.
name.
And recently, due to the community at the Central Florida Soccer Club, my daughter had the privilege of playing at Lake Myrtle in Auburndale. And what I noticed the other day when I was there watching her play was Arnold Palmer would have been happy to play on that soccer field, okay? So it brings, when you have a complex like the one in Auburndale, it brings a lot to the community. I mean, there's tournaments there, it generates revenue, the kids are safe, lots of good things come out of it. I had sent an email to the council and to the mayor, and I had attached some reference articles that I had downloaded and read. I'm sure you received it. One of them was the SAFE article, about the importance of having fields in good conditions, et cetera. And I had referenced that movie, The Hill, where the young man that played baseball for many, many years almost had his career ended from a hole in a field. I guess in that situation, it was a sprinkler head that wouldn't go down. And then I shared a little experience that I had when I was a young man with a hole in the field where I ripped my shoulder because of the condition of the field. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. It's a good cause. Glad to hear there's lots of money, and other cities are doing it. They're finding a way to keep these fields in pristine conditions. I don't know how they're doing it. I'm not an expert in that field, but we're falling short, and we need to pick it up and be cool if you guys went out to Auburndale and took a look at those fields and ask them how they do it, how they keep them up. Anyway, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for a quick, when I say millions of dollars, let me clarify that. And it's a rightful clarification. Really, from a city perspective, we should have, they say that you should have 16.67% of your general fund expenditures in a general fund reserve account. So it basically equates to 2 months worth of our expenditures should boom go in the night and the city be in a catastrophic situation where we have to get things back online. There's been talk, there's a current policy that was passed by this board to strive to have 25%. Okay, so 3 months worth of general fund reserve balance based off of general fund expenditure. Anything above and beyond that, it's just wet finger in the air. Well, why do we have that much in terms of reserve if we're not actually spending it on the things that our residents are expecting from this board? And you have to think about, why would we have such a high reserve balance? Do we have unique infrastructure spends that if something were to catastrophically happen, that we need to get things back, like bridge infrastructure, which we don't really have a whole bunch of bridges in Apopka, and things like that. And so then it becomes, we're not using the money as it was intended. And that's where I say there's millions of dollars that are above that 16.67 threshold to what it currently sits at today. And that's money that could be reallocated for the purposes that we're discussing here, amongst other things. I mean, there's public safety, that's in that same bucket of funds. Parks and Recs are certainly both in there. Utilities in a different fund, but I just wanted to clarify my millions of dollars falling from trees remark. So.
And if I can say something real quick too, sorry, Mr. Olson, let me jump in here, is that I've met with Coach Najia once or twice. Been on the phone once or twice with him as well. And I definitely, number one, I'm sorry that you guys have experienced what you guys have. We hear you, and I appreciate you guys being here too. I think advocacy is the biggest thing, especially civically, that you can be here to really advocate for your needs. And I think it's huge. Anything that impacts our youth in a positive way, I always get behind and I'm always very supportive of. So Coach Najee and his passion for improving youth and just making sure that there's a outlet for our youth is huge. And he keeps saying, I need you to get your daughters out of ballet. They need to come to soccer. And I'm like, I agree. So I just want to say we're definitely working on it. And I was trying to look through emails here of some with Mr. Williams. I feel like he had laid out a plan of kind of what our future looks like with the fields and things like that. And I just couldn't find it because I think you guys sent me an email or two from your group that I just can't find fields or Northwest Rec. I think it's getting lost in my search. So I don't know if Mr. Williams down the road, either later today or can just update us on what those plans look like. I know you provided, I just can't find it right now. So we're definitely going to be working on it. We hear you and we see you, and you definitely don't go unheard. So thank you for being here.
Rod Olson, 3156 Rolling Hills Lane here in Apopka. I'm proudly wearing my number 3 and number 4 granddaughter's number. All 4 of my granddaughters have played soccer for the soccer club. It's a remarkable organization. I have a little bit of background in soccer. I've been involved with it for 44 years, 24 years as a coach, U5 through U19. Took a team to England, played an international tournament, trained with the Southampton Football Club for a week. I also served as a coach for the rec program here for 5 years. Also served as an official for 27 years, and everything from youth to high school. I was a state level 5. I was a NISOA official doing collegiate, primarily collegiate Division I games in the Northeast, Southeast, and the Midwest U.S. So I know my way around a pitch. I know my way around a program. This soccer club is one of the finest clubs I've ever been involved with. And my involvement is cheering. It's the training is tremendous. The aspect of the coaching, the certifications required of the coaching, it's an awesome organization. And having the ability to have fields in fit condition to be able to use are what we need. I've talked about fields for over a year. We talked last meeting, indicated that back in 2006, you had 16 pads. There's still 16 pads. And we've grown exponentially, almost 40%, which means we should be at about 25 fields right now. And I know baseball, softball are suffering as well. The importance of being able to keep that club local. All these parents traveling these great distances. It's nice for me as a grandparent to only have to walk over to the recreational complex to see them play. Unfortunately, that's only part of their games. Having the fields available, having the fields well-maintained and taken care of. Clearly, everyone, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. There's been more work done in those fields. In my opinion, I'm on the fields every day, nearly every day. More work done in those fields in the last 3 weeks than has been done in the last 3 years. And thank you, Radley, and your team for working on it, but we need to keep the fire lit on that. I think that's all I have to say on that topic. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Dr. O?
Hello. We need to work on the code for the election for the candidates. We need to work on aligning it more like the county code with thorough explanations of the expectations of the candidates. You would think they'd understand the regulations on it and then follow through on it, but they don't seem to be able to read and then follow through on what the promises they made. And then when they get, Susan does a great job of getting out to them their obligations, and so does code enforcement, but they don't seem to follow that. And they're told, you need to get these signs down, and 3 of them did a good job. 1 waited out until the last minute, and then on 1 sign, got a 30-day notice on 1 that should have come down immediately, and then never took it down. And sounds like they're waiting for a magistrate hearing. And that's sad, especially being an incumbent. And then we have signs all over South Apopka and Upper Apopka that are all over the place in easements, on city property, and we have some on Duke Power property. And Duke said, call the police. It's a sad sight that people that want to be paid by the citizens to make laws can't follow the laws themselves. And don't tell me that my campaigners did it. Because you write on that sign, I approve this ad. And you're supposed to give them and explain to them where they can put those signs. It's tragic. You don't give them out to 3-year-olds to put up that can't read. You're giving them to adults to put out, or you're putting them out yourselves. And this is tragic. Susan gives you copies of the laws. You sign it and say you're going to obey them. And this happens season after season after season. We need to get that improved. And communication seems to be one way. We say we have pillars and that, oh, hold me up to them. And repeatedly, the communication is one way. We ask for fix these stormwater ponds. Get me some information. Why aren't the stormwater ponds being cleaned? Oh, I'll get back to you on that. I'll talk to them. A month later, you haven't got back to me on the stormwater ponds. Oh, I'll get back to you on that. 9 months later, he still hadn't got back to me on the stormwater ponds. And he's talking about honesty and integrity and communications as number 1. Number 1 on his list. Now, for a year or more, I've been reporting the awful dead trees on the corner of Martin, where the baseball fields used to be. Reporting them to the city, reporting them to Radley, and I never get phone calls back or emails back from him. I report it to public service. Let's clean up these dead trees. It's a mess here.
Thank you, Dr. O. We appreciate it.
And Nesta never returned. He waited till his campaign to deal with it.
Thank you. Susan, anybody else? Is that it?
Ace Woodham.
Wow, I got a full house tonight. Ace Woodham, 47 East Magnolia Street, Apopka. I come up here tonight on a different note. There's a lot of brothers in here tonight that's going to be speaking, I hope. But I come to you tonight on a very touchy subject. Our police department has a big issue with it, and so does our transport with the fire department, is our homeless. I tried to get something started 3 or 4 years ago called Neighbors. But we have homeless people in the park now, and our homeless people are not just there because they want to be. Yes, we do have the lazy ones, which has not a disability, but a state of mind. And I don't know if there's any fix in that. But we have also the disabled vets that serve this country that has no choice now. They sleep under hedges, sleep under sidewalks, bridges. And we got the ones that are mentally and physically disabled. Their families have abandoned them. They've left home because they had no place to go. And yes, it's a touchy subject to me because I see it every day. I live right downtown. But I got a very dear friend that feeds them, Kelly, with Hope of Apopka. These people here don't have someone standing up for them besides help feed them and give them some clothes when they can from donations. They don't have someone to tell them happy birthday. They got families out there somewhere. But we don't even know their background. How can we help them? They have nowhere to go to ask for help. They go to churches. The churches will give them food or clothing or whatever they can. But we need someone to be to help them figure out the military vets. How can they contact someone in the hospital, military hospitals, to get these people help? They don't have phones to contact them. They don't know who to call. The ones that have mental disabilities or physical disabilities, who do they go to? They have no place. But we don't put them on a bus, as I've heard been said, and ship them to the county line. And it ain't fair for our police officers to have to babysit sometimes either, or the fire department. I think the city, since we're so active in giving land away, we got a facility right down here on Forest Avenue where our Fran Carlton Center, there's plenty of room there, to set up a temporary office for this city, take part of $100,000 and hire someone to be an advocate for them, to get to know these people, what their needs are, and see if we can locate some help for them and maybe get some of them off the street. Like I said, the lazy ones, you're not going to do nothing with them except keep giving them handouts. But there's some of them out there that really won't help but have no means to get it. And the city's facing some hard times with it. Give them something instead of when they're passing up trash on the road. Instead of passing it up, let them pick it up. Give them self-pride and let them move on. But they need help, need y'all's help. As taxpayers, we got the money to do it.
Thank you.
Alex Klepper.
All right. Good evening. Alex Klepper, President of the Apopka Firefighters Association. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Apopka firefighters that I serve. I have 3 topics to address: impasse hearings, the fire pension, and Apopka Fire Station 6. First, last council meeting, City Administrator Chuck Vavrick spoke about information he received regarding the firefighters' positions on several matters. I am here to be clear, not to negotiate, but to clarify details that were incorrect or perhaps unintentionally misleading. I know these things are difficult and the telephone game is real. So, from the source, our union leadership has reached out on multiple occasions through our attorney's office to contact city representation, asking if it were the will of the council that the city would be willing to mutually waive mediation by a special magistrate and bring our impasse articles back to council. The firefighters are not are not the ones wanting to go to mediation as stated 2 weeks ago incorrectly. We'd prefer not to waste more time and money and handle our own business. It was also stated that the firefighters are pushing our meeting dates further. This clarification is particular to the delivery. The firefighters themselves have agreed to make any date, anytime work. The difficulty, as always, is finding a mutual date and agreement between two different attorneys and now a third party from somewhere in Tallahassee. This doesn't have anything to do with the firefighters. We have no interest in playing games or dragging out this timeline any further. The fire pension study. This has been truly upsetting to our firefighters to see what happens to what appears to be either a deliberate delay tactic or poor management. Our firefighters asked for reasonable pension improvements. The city requested an actuary study. Firefighters paid for and provided an actuary study. The city rejected that study from our own pension company actuaries and then has spent 4 months and counting obtaining a restudy on a study from a company that we don't regularly do business with or know. While our pension plan actuaries stand tall on their assessments and have never been questioned regarding their improvements to Apopka Police or Apopka General Employees Pension Fund, only the firefighters. So is it fair to suppose that this is the will of the council? Lastly, it has been alleged that temporary Fire Station 6 is potentially being relocated within a month's time frame to an unknown location with uncertain, possible, and suitable living conditions. Perhaps there is no need for concern. But when firefighters are asking, where will I live a third of my life and will it be safe? And they're ignored or told it's not their business, that doesn't instill confidence and doesn't allow for proper education or explanation. Would this not be a more worthwhile study to have commissioned? Was it only last year that everyone had improving communication on the tip of their tongues? Transparency and communication. What happened to that? You all were elected to take care of people, and so was I. Let's both hold up our end of the bargains and do what's right for the people that we serve. Thank you.
And Mr. Klepper, not to ignore your statements, but I'll bring that up during council reports.
Tony Philcox.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I'm here to talk about On-Site, who is...
If you want to wait, and that item's coming up, I'd rather you,
Okay,
that
sure.
comment specific to that
Be happy to.
item. Thank you.
Anthony Perez.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for hearing me out. The reason I'm here is because of the fact the VFW needs the city's help. We've received emails from Radley saying that he'd like to work on the contracts. But the problem is, these contracts that are being written are not in need of the VFW. We all know we have canteens over there. There's nothing stipulating about the canteens. The VFW feels like they're being kicked out. I know I've been told we're not trying to kick you out, but the actions speak louder than words. The VFW is wanting to help the vets, but how can we help the vets if we're told you need to give up an office? You need to give up this. You need to give up that. The VFW is here for the city. We've always been here from our little home over on Sorrento. Mr. Mayor, I believe you were a young boy when we had that building. The VFW means a lot to me. You guys know that I'm there almost more times than I'm home with my wife and my grandchildren. This means a lot to me, and I'd really like to work with you, Mr. Williams, to get this done right. The VFW needs a home, not politics. We fought for you to go to school. We fought for everybody's rights. We need these brought to immediate attention because you know what? Without the city's help, we're going broke.
and we can't be that way. Thank you.
Albert McKimmey.
Albert McKimmey, 3603 Golden Gem Road, Apopka. With a strong mayor form of government, Brian Nelson sets agendas, controls the duration of public comment at his own discretion, effectively censoring the public's ability to criticise this administration. Whilst in these chambers, our mayor sets himself up as judge and jury. Twice recently, at the end of meetings, he has misrepresented facts and lied about the group's activities, and the results of those activities. And there is no public recourse to challenge these lies when he makes these comments at the end of a meeting. Some months ago, the mayor, and I will quote him, told me to go back and sit in my corner. And if I supplied $15, in his exact words, he would subject himself to a piss test. Well, Brian, I really don't need you to take a piss test, but if you would consent to taking a lie detector test, I think you'd all do us a big favour. Recently, you told everyone our group found nothing in our review of the election ballots. This is untrue. To date, we have only inspected and photographed envelopes. We are not in a position to determine any irregularities, so your comments were not representative of the facts. At the conclusion of last week's charter meeting, you branded our group as liars and haters. Fact: Eric Mock's paperwork was incomplete due to the omission of both his and the city clerk's signature, and stamps completed that should have been present when the documentation was lodged in a timely manner. Fact: this is not the first occasion that this has happened. You and Michael Rodriguez were made aware of similar omissions 1 year ago when I came down and inspected public records. 3 of the 5 documents I expected at that time had errors of omissions. I photographed these and brought it to the attention of the records clerk. Fact: the work undertaken by your administration is being investigated by relevant authorities in respect of Eric Mock's candidacy. The fact that you nor the city attorney were aware of this is not surprising, as it constitutes potential criminal activity. What I can say with certainty is that there are people here, apart from myself, who are aware that this investigation is in fact being conducted. And I take issue that you branded myself and my co-members liars. Ace came down tonight and he mentioned the homeless. My direction as I move forward after these new elections will be to benefit the homeless in Apopka. One other thing that I have to mention tonight is Fire Station 6. Fire Station 6, do we actually have stamped and dated plans specifically for Fire Station 6? You see, the information that I have is the plans that you have were for another fire station and that you're using them to put forward for Fire Station 6. If you've broken ground in Fire Station 6 without having stamped dated plans, then again, this is all done for the benefit of the public to create the impression that things are going swimmingly. They're not. We're up to our neck in excrement caused by the drainage systems, the sewage systems, the pipe systems. Did we not get money funded by the federal government to upgrade these systems? What happened to that money? Where's it been spent?
Kate Manley.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I believe everybody received my email. I know. Thank you, Commissioner Becker, for responding. I just want to read a resolution that the Board of Directors from the Chamber of Commerce has put together on February 16th.
Kate, if this is about the investment policy, why don't we, it's not, okay, I'm sorry, okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The Apopka Area Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors has voted to support and approve the following resolution request to the mayor and city commissioners of the city of Apopka. And I think that this month is the perfect month to put this through. The Apopka Area Chamber of Commerce and Small Business Advocates of Central Florida request that the city of Apopka increase the local bid preference opportunities from 3% to 10% for small businesses. The city of Apopka is urged to adopt the statement that small businesses are a major source of economic growth and development, including employment and taxable income. The city of Apopka is encouraged to continue its commitment to the participation of small businesses in city projects, procurement, and purchasing. The city of Apopka should recognize certified minority women business enterprises, MWBE, by Orange County, Florida, City of Orlando, Greater Orlando Aviation Authority, and/or State of Florida Office of Supplier Diversity as eligible participants in small business programs. The City of Apopka should require vendors to report a small business participation and goal achievement in the issuance of bids for proposed projects, procurement, or purchasing. This resolution shall be effective immediately upon adoption. We, the undersigned, hereby certify that the foregoing resolution was duly adopted by the Board of Directors of the Apopka Area Chamber of Commerce and Small Business Advocates of Central Florida via electronic consensus on February 16th, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we going to discuss this?
We can. Sure.
Because I think it's worthy of us having targeted conversations on this because, again, we keep on passing each other in the night when it comes to letters to the editors, to local papers versus officially interacting with this board. I've never once gotten a direct request from your office or anybody related to the chamber board related to having these types of conversations in a well thought out manner. To arbitrarily go from 3% to 10%, where did that come from? And at what point are we subsidizing an individual business at the cost of the taxpayers of the city? Because our current procurement, and this is still outstanding questions with Ms. Sherman and our attorney, our procurement policy has a provision for local preference. 3%, meaning if we go into a multiple bid situation, the lowest bidder, if it's a non-local entity, a local entity that's the next lowest bid or within 3% can be then considered the lowest bidder, and we pay 3% higher for that local business with the idea that, hey, they're creating jobs, some of that would recycle in the tax base here and within the city. To go from 3 to 10%, on a project that may be $50,000 in spend, okay, a difference between 10% and 3% may be small. But if we're talking about a project that's large scale, $1 million projects, going from 3% to 10% can be a pretty material difference. So
They have to be competitive, though.
Excuse me?
It does specify, it has to be competitive pricing. It can't be a 10% higher amount that somebody's bidding. It's giving that preference of when you're doing, because the city of Apopka owns so many properties and has so many projects in place, it's a set aside more of this is what we're driving after to get not only procurement, but purchasing and bid. And the truth is, you may not be that far off if you adopt that much of both bid, purchasing, and procurement. And that you have a 3% is, at least you have one. The major concern really is that there is no current minority bid preference at all in place. And federal regulations are 25%, and that is not the request of. And this city, whenever you're using federal funds, you do have to adhere to that 25%.
Right, but there's nothing in the resolution that would quantify what the benefit to minority-owned businesses would be as a result of that resolution. The only thing quantifiable is the increase from 3% to 10% on the local preference bid policy. And I'll go back because the way that I interpret our procurement policy is it says goods only. So that's a sticking point for me. It does say goods only. There's if you read the two paragraphs in that policy. So to say that, I don't know what the properties come into this one, but when we're talking about bidding out a project, whether that's building a new skate park for the city, whatever the case might be, if that's $1 million project,
Public safety or?
one could argue that, okay, if you interpret our policy a certain way, we would be 3% higher to a local business and they would be considered the lowest bid. That, I feel like there's some, is there confusion about what our local preference policy is?
No, that is.
'Cause that's exactly what you're suggesting.
It is more of a, we're more concerned about the fact that if you can't stack both, because if you have a minority preference and you're local and you're a local minority, that you should have a specific opportunity to be able to bid with both and have the preference over somebody who is more established, that somebody brings from outside of the community that has not had an opportunity.
No, local preferences geared, like, let's just take it on surface. Let's throw the minority versus the majority topic out of it for a second. Our current policy basically says if you have a main office in the corporate limits of the city of Apopka, on a bid type of scenario, you can be 3% higher than the lowest and be considered the lowest bid, local preference. What your resolution is telling us is that the chamber is taking a vote to say that needs to go from 3% to 10%. Is that a correct statement?
That is a correct statement.
Commissioner Becker, what if we have Blanche and her team reach out and let's kind of the Central Florida area and get what Orlando's doing, what Ocoee's doing, and just
I've done my research. I know what places are doing. I mean, Highland County, for example, Blanche and I were talking about this before the meeting. Hey, I don't mind talking 3, 7, 10, 15%.
Right.
But their policy basically says that if a local business is above that by that percentage, they will be considered the lowest bidder, but they have to accept the lowest bid price in order to get that project. They still get the project. It's just their determination of whether or not they're going to go to that lowest bid. So it's used as a proxy by which to select a local preference, not a city saying, hey, I'm going to arbitrarily spend 7% more on a project to favor a local small business, a singular one, or a small subset. So the point that I'm trying to make too is, again, I've sat up here on other pieces of business and been accused of playing politics. And at this point, I don't care if I'm being accused of playing politics, if it means the right outcome. My irritation, and I've said this in the past few meetings with you not in attendance, is that you keep on writing to the Apopka chief editor to talk about formal business within the city. Yet not once have you contacted me, or I can't speak for others, or anybody from your board of directors reached out to me to say, hey, we're thinking about passing this 3 to 10% policy. What are your concerns? Where do you think we have blind spots or what have you? It's just never happened. And, you know.
Thank you.
We can continue to research on it, but I think we're miles away from having that sort of conversation.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's because obviously I've been named multiple times in these letters to the editor, and I appreciate that you have finally brought this to us as an option for us. And I think discussing it in more detail, seeing what other municipalities are doing as well, I think is beneficial. I'm definitely open to this, and I think it's something that we need to discuss, but it doesn't need to be politicized and then muddied with other issues that are exclusively being used for politics. So I think this is definitely something to look into additionally and have discussions about. And I appreciate actually this being presented to us officially and sent something to us as of last Friday. So I do appreciate that.
Okay, so Blanche?
So Mayor, is it possible to have the finance person get together and bring us back some information, then have it as an agenda item in the next meeting?
Yep. Yeah, as a discussion item, not an action item. No, well, give her 2 meetings. 2 meetings. Okay. Okay. So 2 meetings. You'll come back. Other municipalities in the Central Florida area and what they're and I think the girl right next to you might can help you as well. So so that would be good. Okay. Awesome. All right. Thank you. Anybody else, Susan? That it? All right. Let's see. We have 5 consent agenda items. Anybody need to pull any of those items? If not, look for a motion to approve the 5 consent agenda items.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Becker. Second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Radley, we still got a couple of folks from the Central Florida Soccer. I know that we've already got in the pipeline 2 fields that are supposed to be built this year, and then I think the plan, you got a 3-phase plan, 2-2-2 or something.
Correct. Yeah, we have 2 fields budgeted
Right.
this year, 2 additional fields the next 2 years as well, to add a total of 6 fields in the next
Right.
3-year period. So.
Okay, so that's already in the works. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Radley Williams, Parks and Recreation Director. I'm here tonight seeking council direction and authorization for appropriate action for damages caused to 1046 Villa Lane, number 23, due to a city potable water main break. This incident occurred back on January 30th when a 6-inch potable water main break occurred in the Arrow Estates neighborhood, which flooded the home. Multiple rooms were affected in the house, including the kitchen, living room, bedroom, and restroom. The resident has been in contact with city administration over the past couple weeks, and our HR risk department has been working with our insurance carrier on a claim, but that claim has been denied from our insurance. So I'm here tonight to run through a couple options, see what the pleasure of the council is to proceed to try and remedy this situation. Option 1 would be to request the homeowner to file a claim through their insurance and then work through our insurance to try and get resolution. Option 2 would be for us to go through our city procurement to hire a contractor, make the necessary repairs to the home. I was on site at the home with our facilities administrator last week. We had anticipated at that time the repairs to be between $40,000 and $60,000 needed to the house. We have received a quote from ServPro to do the repairs at the property. That quote came back around $33,000. The homeowner has also provided a list of other items, personal property that was damaged in the incident, that would raise that price a little bit. And option 3 would be to just work to a financial settlement with the homeowner and have them complete the work on their own. I have spoken with the homeowner multiple times now, again, also this morning. Their preference is to have the city contractor do the repairs, and then work with them on that list of personal items for reimbursement. Either of those options, 2 or 3, we would of course work with the city attorney to make sure a waiver would be signed at the completion of the work, verifying that it was brought back to the proper state. So again, looking for direction. Couple things. With the estimate that we initially had was between that $40,000 and $60,000 range. I was getting close to that $50,000 threshold. That would need to come to council anyways, so we wanted to get ahead of this and bring this to you. And also, we do have one quote with ServPro, a very reasonable quote. There is an option tonight for council, if you wish, to waive procurement on this incident and allow us to go ahead and get the property repaired in a faster fashion. So, looking at the pleasure of the board.
Any questions for Radley?
So, no, you go.
Yeah,
You're
I
the
mean,
vice mayor.
and I reached out to Mr. Shepherd before this meeting too, just because I was a little confused why we would get something like this for council, because there's 2 options on here that seem like they need to be run to ground before we even get presented with, what the decision was. Because option number 1, request the resident file a claim with their insurance company. I mean, that seems like a staff-led, hey, have that conversation. Why would council need to formally weigh in on that option? And same thing with option 3, work toward a financial settlement with the homeowner, which are we able to voluntarily enter into financial agreements without there being some sort of initiation from the other party? It just seems premature that we're even just contemplating this.
Let me kind of take over. So I met with the lady. She's got a 2-year-old, I think it's a 2-year-old.
A toddler, yes.
Daughter. And so I went out to her house, and she's having to live because it's unlivable right now. So she's living with her mother, and the child is out of its element and not happy. So I'm I would say that the city administrator wanted to put it off for 2 more weeks, and I thought, well, if we can get this thing resolved, I want this family back in their house as quickly as possible. So the team, Radley and AJ, worked really hard to get ServPro out there to get a number. It's the pleasure of the board. My thought is try to get them back in their house as quickly as possible based on
My thing is, all 3 options are within your full power because option number 2, the low end of that estimate is $40,000. Right. You have the authority to do what any one of those 3 options. You do not need this council.
It's my understanding that not only do we need to bring her house back to where it's supposed to be livable, but also she has some personal items that may take that figure above the 50,000 mark, that threshold. So therefore, it would need council approval.
It may, but like we should know what the actual figure is when we're making a formal vote of
We didn't
council.
know what the vote, when I put it on the agenda on Friday, I didn't know it was going to be less than 50.
And we still don't.
We still, I mean.
Exactly. We don't know the dollar figure.
But I mean,
So what I would ask from staff standpoint is, because this is a still fluid situation that we're working through to get to the final resolution, our initial estimate was 40 to 60. We'd have a not to exceed 60 to get this remedied and move as quick as we can with the Surf Pro contract that came back more reasonable than we initially anticipated through the process.
Does this open up to any similar
It does to the
risk?
Sheila.
Because throw this particular piece of business. Any lawsuit by which our insurance carrier has deemed the denial of claim, which we have some, what does that open us up to?
Well, the first question is, why did they deny the claim? And I don't know the answer. I speculated, and maybe Mr. Williams can tell me exactly, but I assumed it was because they considered whatever this damage was an act of God. An example that I gave you, and it's for everyone's benefit, if a completely healthy tree of yours falls on your neighbor's house so that nobody knew there was going to be a problem until it happened, then there is no liability to the person who has the tree on their property because it's an act of God, even though the tree from your house falls on somebody else's house. However, if you knew the tree was damaged or otherwise diseased, then it is not an act of God and you can be held negligent. In that case, the insurance company should pay the bill. That's why you have insurance. So the question here is, why were we denied? The reason that's a relevant question in terms of the government getting involved is, generally speaking, the government is not allowed to make volunteer payments of damages that they don't actually owe. But in this case, I'm not sure how the facts work out. And again, that's also usually a question that is determined by a court as to whether the facts were one way or the facts are the other. That the insurance company has come to a complete denial decision very quickly makes me curious as to why, because ordinarily, if there was any doubt, they would do what's called a reservation of rights, take on the claim, agree to defend this with a lawyer of their choosing, and they pay for it, just like in some of the other cases we have. And then they would usually, on their own dime, start negotiating a settlement and see where that puts us, as again, this happened in some of the other cases that we're involved in the city. So I don't know the answer, but the answer to your question as to what the liability is that in general terms, governments don't volunteer payments where no payments are owed.
Do we know why insurance was denied?
Yeah, that was the question.
Yeah, it's my understanding that it's on those lines that there was no defective reason that the pipe failed. It failed.
I mean, I'll make a motion to postpone it definitely until we know more facts.
That's not what I.
We don't have any stated dollar figures in front of us. to make an
You'll
educated
give us some acts, or not. I mean, you can postpone it. That, I mean, that's
White
fine.
finger in the air. Like normally, you would have here's a itemized list of what the damages were, what room, what the damage was, line item to say here's how much cost it is to repair it. We're given a dollar range on the low end of what is in our packet material. Again, I want to remind you that you have refrained from voting, or you vote no against things that were not in our packet the preceding Friday. The information in our packet right now, option 1 should be a staff-led run it to ground. Option 2, the low end of that estimate, 40,000, is within your purview of spend. Option 3, not prudent for the council to arbitrarily come up with a number for settlement. So,
well, to echo your point as well, these are all wood frame units. The HOA, if I'm understanding it correctly, owns the outside, or condo association. The resident owns the inside. So it may be multiple layers of ownership here too. And if it's water damage and wood, and these are 1980 units, if I'm not mistaken, could be 60s, 70s, 80s, somewhere in there, there could be substantial more damage going all the way up. So It could be 100,000. If depending on once we open walls, things like that, there could be mold. You just never know. So there's a lot of variability here. So I don't want to set a number by any means at this point. I would think it's going to be over $50,000.
Well, the walls have been open. It has been remediated. So
who remediated it?
They contacted a risk department to start a claim, and then a remediation company came in to do that.
So we've already remediated it.
It's been remediated.
How much did we spend on that?
That was at $1,600.
Okay. The numbers here are strange. Just being in the industry and knowing projects and things like that, just how we're doing this is a little backwards. Where is this family at now?
They're living off site. I'm not sure exactly where they're at.
So are we funding their move out in any capacity?
No, they've put a request in for those type of expenditures, yes. But we have not paid anything out to the family.
Yeah, I mean, they have a 2-year-old. That's something we should have thought about first.
We do have the quote. We do have a quote from ServPro that itemizes all the damage repairs that are being made. That was that $33,000 quote. Was not received in time for the packet.
So do we have something from ServPro?
Yes.
Where is it?
Yes.
As of yesterday, you did not have that. 'cause
Right. Yeah, it came
You
in
didn't have
yesterday.
that yesterday. And
Came in yesterday
And
afternoon.
I know that option 3, the homeowner absolutely didn't want option 3.
33.
And then I understood that our insurance company denied it because the policy that we have doesn't cover that type of damage, even though it's a city property that, the water main bust was really a city-owned.
It was a city water main, yes.
Yes.
But
That's how I understood yesterday.
Yeah, Joe explained that probably
Our
too.
insurance policy does not cover that.
that type of incident. And again, there was no defect in the insurance company, no defect in the pipe when it was put in. It just burst.
Did the insurance company submit an official denial letter?
I'm not sure yet. The last I heard from Joe this afternoon was we reapproached the claim and it was denied again.
So
just this afternoon.
I filed plenty of insurance claims, usually get an official denial letter. So I'm surprised that we don't have one originally.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Joe would be the one that would have it.
But realize we have a $50,000 deductible anyway. So
That wasn't my question. I wanted to know why we didn't have, they always give official paperwork.
Yeah, I'd have to check with Joe on that. The quote that we have from ServPro is $33,169.81.
So even though the pipe wasn't defective, because it was a city water line, we're still liable.
No, my understanding, and this again would be a question for Joe, but my understanding is that the pipe there was no defect in the pipe being put in, it just burst. So the city would not be liable for that insurance claim. Like Cliff said, it was more of an act of God.
So they could litigate if they want. I guess the next course of action, they could litigate and let a court decide.
They could. The way this works is, typically, I could be an expert and claim there was no defect. They could bring their own expert and say there was, and then the court would decide either through a jury or a judge. But what the insurance company is saying, essentially, and again, you're right, there should be a letter, and I'm certain there is or will be if there isn't already. But if I understand correctly, what they're saying is you don't have coverage because there's nothing negligent here. What we're covered for, like everybody else, is negligence. You run into the back of somebody in an automobile. Somebody trips and falls in your property in a hole that you didn't fill in or give a warning about, that sort of stuff. So when something just happens spontaneously and there's no indication of poor maintenance, there's no indication of anything other than stuff happens, then there's not liability. And what the typical recourse would be, if there is any, is you go to your own policy, they take care of whatever it is, less whatever your deductible is, and then if they believe there's damage that's liable of the city, they would come after you. So it'd be insurance carrier versus insurance carrier. and that's how it would go. I do not know why the particular homeowner is reluctant to bring the claim, or whether they even have insurance. That I don't know. I don't want to get on that limb because I'm not sure, but that's how it ordinarily goes. So to say, just because it broke, we're liable, no, that's the whole point, because if we were liable, the insurance company would be stepping up, and they're saying in their opinion, we are not liable.
We don't have that in writing, though.
No, not yet, not from what I'm
We're just
seeing.
hearing that. Okay.
I have a motion on the table, unless, I don't know if the chair wants to ask for a
Yep,
second.
okay.
If it died
Got a motion
without a second.
to table the.
To postpone indefinitely.
Got a motion by Commissioner Becker.
So, and I want to discuss this. Your viewpoint is all of this can be handled up to $50,000, and we should be taking care of them up to $50,000, and it shouldn't be coming to us.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that the council shouldn't even be weighing in on it if it's below 50,000, because it's within the purview of this administration to do it themselves.
So administration, run with it.
The administration is asking the council to vote on something that I don't think is necessary for this council to vote on.
Yeah, and you guys have.
The only thing we'd have to do is we just have to have three bids.
What do you mean?
Because it's, if city council can waive the 3 bid.
So is that what you're asking for in this?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not what this says anywhere in there.
Well, I mean, that's.
Guys, here's the fact. I know, again, I feel like I'm being a thorn in the side this evening, but facts are facts. You said we don't have a formal denial letter from the insurance company stating that it was not our fault, negligence of maintenance on the pipe, to then drive us to a conversation where we feel like we have to reimburse the damage that was done. Now, then the third piece of us just voluntarily, option 3 I'm talking about, voluntarily just coming up with a number to say, okay, well, let's settle. Okay, well, that's in conflict with point number 1. Well, then point number 2, you have a range in there. And again, I'm using it based off of the information that I had in hand coming into this meeting. And that range was between $40,000 and $60,000. The mayor has the ability to do that, or staff does within our procurement policy to do that. Those are the facts. So.
But then we go back to the point of whether he has the ability or staff has the ability to spend $50,000 if we're not liable.
That's on, staff needs to make that determination, not the city council. They should look at our procurement policy, look at what our insurance provider has said and done it. We have a very big case that has eerily similar circumstances where an insurance provider from us has said that the city is not at fault, and yet we're not entertaining settlement offers at this point.
I guess my concern is we got a family that's out of their home. So something needs to be done.
Does it? Like, I don't want to sound like a heartless human being, but how many instances do we have that come before council or the city staff where it's a situation where people are in peril situations that we never make a decision on? Whether that be someone tripping on a sidewalk and breaking a leg, or any other number of things that come between the city. Why this one?
Then that being the case, then we don't need a motion to postpone, just let staff handle it.
That's my motion to postpone, so we don't have to take any formal action on this business item.
And should it get above 50,000?
It doesn't kill the business item. It just says postpone indefinitely so that staff can work through running to ground those 3 options a little bit more formally so that they come back to council and say, hey, we talked to the homeowner. Option 1 is off the table because they don't want to file an insurance claim with their own insurance, so we can't explore option 1. Option 2, hey, this is what the itemized cost is going to be formally. And then top of the house, to Commissioner Nesta's point, the insurance company gives us a formal doctrine that says, hey, we are not going to do anything with this claim. And then option 3, I just don't even think we're even remotely close to having that sort of conversation, a settlement type of agreement. To Commissioner Shepard's, or to City Attorney Shepard's point, we would just be voluntarily and arbitrarily putting out a dollar amount.
The homeowner doesn't want that anyway.
Right. So my point precisely, we have 2 options on the table that we have no idea or a confirmed idea that they don't want to even pursue. So,
Right.
So I guess the whole point of tabling it indefinitely is just, Mayor, run with it. Take care of these people.
No, I mean, so then I have to get 3 bids, which I guess as long as the 3 bids are under 50, then we're okay.
Which is, you said it.
As any prudent person would do, like, and per our policy.
I guess, Mayor, why do you not like to go that route then?
That's fine. I brought it forward, but when I put it on the agenda on Friday, and trust me, there were people that weren't in favor of me putting it on the agenda, but I said, for full transparency, I wanted to put it on the agenda in case when we did get a number, the number was over 50, then I would have to come to council. So it was all based on that on Friday afternoon, we had no idea. We thought 40 to 60, so 50 being our number. I want to make sure we had it on the agenda on Friday. We got the quote from ServPro yesterday afternoon.
Well, the latest update was today.
Or today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
because
We've been working with them.
I was here till almost
Okay.
5:30.
Yeah, it wasn't ready. We had to
I
do
mean-
a little revision on it.
There was nothing
So,
there.
so that's the timeline. I mean,
But now, in the letter that the homeowner sent me, she said that the restoration company wrapped up getting my house dried on February 6th. Was it the same restoration company, ServPro?
ServPro, yes.
So at that time, did they do an estimation of what it would cost?
That's when they looked at the property, yes.
Okay, so we already paid for their service to dry up her home?
The last bit of drying that needed to be done, yes.
And
over the
since
weekend.
then, have we repaired the city, the main break of the water?
That was
pipe?
repaired back after it happened, yes.
And so this has been going on, from what I understand, since January 30th.
January 30th is when the water break happened, yes.
You know, to Commissioner Becker's point is that once ServPro gave you the quote, I guess today or whatever, this should have been just removed because as per the procurement, you can choose to expend the money up to 50,000 without having to come to the council. And I think you said there's another case similar to this?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
know that,
but I was unaware of that.
Not really this one.
I know it's not
Different
this one.
Similar circumstances in terms of the options that we have.
Well, I think that
See,
totally makes
this-
sense. It gives
yeah.
the mayor autonomy. You have, I mean, that's the powers you have. I don't know why you're laughing. You have the power to do that.
But I guess, are you asking this council to waive the requirement? to get
Well, where we're at
bids
now-
So you can move forward with this one?
Where we're at now with the quote we have from ServPro,
But it's
that
not-
would be
but
an
it's not
option.
a quote,
but-
though. They've already done work, correct?
no,
they've not done repair work.
no.
They've done
No,
drying
all
work.
they did was drying.
They just dried
They
the,
cut the bottom.
Yeah,
foot off the-
they've done no repair work yet.
No. Taking the
When we
carpet
went,
out.
we were out on Friday looking at the property again. There were some areas that were still a little moist that we didn't want to, we needed to dry up.
So do we know?
So the
if-
question, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, when it says request the resident to file a claim with her insurance company, do we have information on that?
Well, I think now that we, again, have been confirmed, Joe let me know late this afternoon that the insurance company was denying the claim again. We're going to need to get a letter from them, as mentioned, with the official denial.
Yeah, but that's our insurance.
That's our
company.
insurance.
But did anyone ask her?
She has not filed a claim yet with her insurance, no. So we'd have to follow back up with her. The resident was waiting to see if the city's insurance would take the claim. And now the city's insurance is not going to take the claim.
But per our procurement policy, up to $50,000, do we still have to get 3 bids?
We get 3 bids at this level, yes.
What
So-
level? What's the number?
It's the $15,000. Under 50? Yeah.
Okay.
So with ServPro coming in under the 50, we'd get the 3 quotes. One way to speed that process up, the council can waive the procurement in this case, if that's the wish of the council.
Do we have to re-advertise this in any capacity, or is this anything, if we do that, because that's not what this is asking. That's
Well,
not,
right, we didn't know where we were going to be here on Wednesday night.
No, there's no advertisement required at all. It's just an agenda item. It's not like an ordinance.
okay.
Okay.
I mean, so from your point of view, would you consider this to be sort of an emergency case? I mean, there's a family that has been taken out of their home since January 30th, and we are today, February 21st. I mean, that family has been severely inconvenienced by this water main break. That was not her fault. The insurance company's not covering it. So, if you are happy with that ServPro will be able to bring this home whole so that the family can return to their home, I mean, that's going to be the decision of the staff and of course our mayor, because the procurement said up to $50,000. It's really a staff decision.
Right. Yeah. So the quote came in lower than we had estimated for the damages to the house. But really what we're talking about now is this quote, we could get the work started potentially this week. If we have to get 2 additional quotes, it's going to delay that a little bit while we procure those or secure those.
My intent, I would want this done as quickly as possible. Let's make these people whole and keep it moving forward. And if we need to handle, if it's over 50,000, then bring it back and we can discuss it. But
in the meantime,
So we got
did anyone advise her to go through her insurance first?
I'd have to talk with Joe and Christy and Risk. They're the ones that initially started the claim.
So I move that.
Well, we already got a motion.
We got a motion?
Yeah, motion to table the item.
Motion to postpone indefinitely is my motion.
Got a motion to table this item indefinitely.
Not table. Postpone indefinitely.
Postpone it indefinitely.
Well,
Do you have a second? Not fails for a second. Looking for a motion to waive.
I move the way the procurement, requiring the 3
Okay.
bids for this project.
Okay, got a motion by Commissioner Smith.
In discussion, and I'll just use our attorney's analogy one more last time. Use the tree. If this was a tree on city property and it fell in that same house and caused the same damage, would we be having the same conversation?
yeah,
So.
I would, I kind of prefer, I mean, I know there's a motion already. He's saying to get the 2 bids. If
We
we're,
get to waive-
if
we
we're
get to
not,
waive them.
I mean, what was your
Motion
motion?
to waive the 3 bids.
Oh, to waive the 3 bids.
Yes. So we can get started. We got ServPro ready to go if we can.
But if it's 33,000, why are we even coming to the council?
That's what I've said. When Friday afternoon, when the item came forward, I said, we don't have a number, could be more than 50, which then would take city council approval. So I put it on the agenda, not knowing where we would be. And we just, we found out today, this afternoon, that here's the number at 33,000. And we still haven't, they haven't agreed to the 33,000 yet either. So we're not sure, there's some other things that we've got to kind of work through, but it's.
So I just feel like not going through the procurement and going ahead. We haven't asked her to go through her insurance company. She still is the homeowner, and I don't want to identify. The homeowner her expectation is once we start to do this work, then the homeowner is going to proceed with having us cover the damages of her property inside the home. So,
She has provided a list just late this afternoon, yes.
oh, so she put, so again, we're really working right now with no information. I mean, there's no estimate other than from ServPro. We don't know if the homeowners should be going through her insurance company to see if they're willing to at least cover some of the damage. And I just think we're leaving ourselves open where if we go without the procurement or the 3 bids, and you get the work done to at least get the homeowner back in her residence, which is important, but then her expectation is going to be now we have to cover all the property damage. and we don't know if if the homeowner's insurance would cover that. And we don't have the letter from our insurance company basically telling us that the damage, the water main break was not anyone's fault. So can we have all that back? I mean, can we have that presented?
At the next council meeting?
I would.
Yeah, we can certainly gather
I
whatever
don't want
information.
I understand what we're trying to do. We're trying to do the right thing, but I feel that we don't know what the homeowner's private insurance company is willing to cover, if it does at all. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Well, so, and if I can just jump in here too, I think, and I'm still and Commissioner Becker, I totally understand where you're coming from too, is there's a confusion there of why is this even in front of us? But at the same time, this is still an individual with a child that we need to take care of them in some capacity. So again, but I don't understand why it's in front of us. So I don't know how we take care of them now. Like what do we need to do? Because we don't have all the facts. We have about 10% of the information that we need to actually make an educated decision on this right now. But we still need to take care of these people and this child, regardless of what else. So I don't know how to move forward on this. I don't want to keep delaying it, but I do understand what you guys are saying too, to where you're wanting us to make decisions on 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100,000, 33,000 plus 1,600, whatever, that we don't have any information. I don't have documentation other than verbal. We don't have a official denial letter from our insurance company. So let's get a little creative here, I guess. We can move forward with that, but I guess, and Attorney Shepard, would the homeowner be signing some type of agreement before we even start work? I mean, we already started work though, so did they already sign something?
No, all we've done is just dry up.
We've gone into their property and ripped it out.
That's not my understanding. I think they just set up the big dryers, the blower dryers.
That's not what the mayor just said.
No, we cut
Did we?
1 foot
Okay.
off the bottom of the baseboard and
yes.
took the carpet up.
So we already have some liability issues here, correct?
Well, you have some mitigation, and yes, typically once you start the problem, you finish the problem, if that's what's happened. But again, at the end of the day, this person, whoever this person is, if they have coverage, and that's an if, I don't know, if they have coverage, your own coverage covers acts of God. It's the other parties because they weren't responsible. That's why like if my house gets hit by lightning and it's burned to the ground, I'm covered. It's nobody intended for the lightning to strike me, but that's what coverage is for. So if she has coverage subject to a deductible, she should have the ability to get it covered. And the only other kind of exemption that would typically apply is flood, but that's flood if it's naturally caused as opposed to a pipe bursting or something like that. So, there's some issues there. But if she doesn't wish to report it, okay, that's an individual decision, and we are left to deal with what we have dealt with. But to your point, if we have ripped into walls and already started the process, and an argument can be made, a pretty good one, that we have begun the process of owning a claim.
We didn't.
It's my understanding that the homeowner, the flood occurred, the homeowner reached out to our risk department to initiate a claim. That homeowner worked with the insurance carrier to bring in an approved mitigation company, and they're the ones that came and did the work. So the city hadn't paid for that mitigation, but now the claim has been denied. So I'm not sure where that leaves that part of it as well.
Precariously. We're not in a great spot there liability-wise. Do we know of any, and this kind of goes back a little bit, has the HOA reached out on any damage that we've caused their landscape, things like that? Any walls that have?
Not to my knowledge. I can't speak of that, though.
They're the last condo down the hill, and it just, water went right down the hill and ended up coming in their front door. They said it was 6 inches up there.
Sure.
And then came in on, I guess, also even leaked through the side.
Well, my other concern too, and I understand everyone's advocacy for let her claim her insurance, but as we all know, there's a horrible insurance issue going on in the state of Florida right now. And if she insures, she may be denied and lose her coverage, or her insurance goes from probably $2,500, $3,000 up to $6,000 to $7,000. So it makes it unaffordable then, and we put her in an even worse position just by doing that. So that's kind of my stance. I know it's
So we get back, we got a motion by Commissioner Smith just to waive the 3, and then it would be up to administration and staff to figure it out from there. If I can get a second on,
I will second that. Only to take care of this family the way they should be taken care of.
okay, got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Public,
second by,
public comment?
We have public
yeah,
comment.
okay, all right. So public comment, yes.
Albert McKimmey, 3603 Golden Gem Road. Whilst I appreciate that we want to do the best we can for this lady and her child, what we mustn't do is set a legal precedent or allow the commissioners to be swayed into taking action over something that essentially you're also responsible to be good stewards of the residents' money. If we set a legal precedent now, then I'm sure it's going to come back to bite us. If the mayor wants to do it, that's his responsibility. Why are you going to take responsibility for something that you really shouldn't be doing so? Commissioner Becker made some comment about another case, which he obviously can't discuss, but I know exactly what he means. When there's a death of someone working for the city denied it because our insurance company said we weren't responsible for it. What's the difference?
Anybody else want to speak on this one? Okay. We've got a motion by Commissioner Smith, a second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
I'm going to say nay.
Okay, so we got a 3-2 vote to give us, to waive the procurement for up to $50,000.
And let me just say, I feel like there's politics played here. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I want to take care of this family, and that's the only reason I voted that way.
Thank you, Radley.
Thank you.
Okay. Jim? Oops.
This, Jim Hitt, Community Development Director, this is the subject that was taken up at the previous redevelopment agency meeting. This was one that we did hear a little over a month ago, or a couple months ago, in regards to an approval for a proposal for the Apopka Station Street project. We advertised properly this time. It was in the paper January 12th, and we did get one resubmittal from Standard Investment Holdings. This is a request for approval of the single proposal for the Station Street project and to proceed with the development agreement. The City of Apopka Community Redevelopment Agency envisions a multi-use project including affordable housing, downtown public parking, and an extension of the downtown Apopka Trail and the construction of a public events space. The city anticipates that approximately 1 acre of the property noticed for disposal will be retained by the city for construction of a public event space. This would also be completed by the successful proposer. This proposer outlines a general design of a 60 units, 2 buildings total, and the associated parking and the event space itself. I'm going to go ahead and zip forward over to what the project will basically look like in the general design scope. The event space, again, would remain wholly owned by the city of Apopka, and the parking spaces and the 2-unit buildings would be constructed on the property that would be owned by the applicant or the proposal itself. This proposal would be consistent with the comprehensive plan, which shows the site is commercial in the Land Development Code, which is currently MU-D, which is mixed use downtown. Both the land use and the zoning permit for a multifamily development must adhere to, or can adhere to, the Senate Bill 102, which is the Live Local Act, which in this case for the approximately 2.4 acres would allow for up to 25 dwellings per acre, or the 60 units themselves. Once the proposal is accepted, the next step is to review and formally approve the development agreement, which would be scheduled for a CRA meeting and a city council meeting, similar to what occurred today. We are looking for a March 6th, 2024 meeting. The latest would be the second meeting in March, but we're shooting for the 6th to get this project going. The development plan would go through the major development process for the plan itself, which goes before Planning Commission, City Council, which would be in accordance with the development agreement itself. And then the construction site plan is approved by the Development Review Committee itself. There's a few hurdles that do have to be taken care of in regards to the brownfields, which is actually in that location of the plaza itself. There are some different funding mechanisms and also different methods to take care of that, which usually is just considered what's commonly referred to as a cap. That's basically cement covering the polluted area. There are a couple sites on monitoring wells on the site right now, so those would basically be continued with the on the city property that would remain on the city property. So at this stage, we're looking for a recommended motion to accept the single proposal from Standard Investment Holdings and continue the process for the development agreement to be presented to the CRA and City Council.
Any questions for Jim? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter?
Once again, Ace Woodham at 47 East Magnolia Street. Only reason I'm coming back here is to re-say what I said the first time earlier tonight. A lot of these people weren't present. Station 1 is on 5th Street. Y'all just destroyed the western part of 5th Street. It dead ends at Central. Once against Tower 1, I'm stand to be corrected, cannot turn and go down to Forest. It cannot make that turn. You go down to Central. That's the way it's got to go sometimes to get out off of Station 5th Street. It's got to go down here to Park or to Central. I'm not against the project, but I think we need to think about emergency vehicles before we go any further with tying all that land up, because y'all got trees planted in the middle of Central Avenue, and you cut the corners off there, made them a very sharp turn. I think you need to really look at that before it goes much further than that.
Anybody else wants to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing, look for a motion to approve the Apopka Station Street project with Standard Investment and Holdings, LLC.
Well, we had discussed this already at CRA, so moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez.
For discussion, I just want for the record, just for the record of this meeting, to reference my comments from the meeting, from the CRA meeting, February 21st at 6 p.m.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Velasquez.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
5-1. 4-1, excuse me, 4-1, with Commissioner Becker in the opposition. Okay, next up, Individual Distributed Wastewater Treatment Systems, DO.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioner. My name is Deodad Buru, Public Service Director. This evening, I will lay out the additional information requested by this council for the final consideration and approval for us to continue the conversion project of replacing the traditional septic tanks in the Wekiva Glen neighborhood with the individual distributed wastewater treatment system unit. This request resulted from a recent additional fund received from the St. John River Water Management District, Amendment Number 4, as a part of a cost-sharing program for such unit installation. The continuation of this IDWTS conversion program was tabled at the council meeting on October the 18th and November the 15th, 2023, respectively, pending additional information. A very brief recap of the previous presentation and a description of the requests. Additional information will be provided tonight. At the conclusion of my presentation, I will seek out council approval on how to proceed with this IDWTS conversion program. On October the 18th meeting, staff indicated that we received an additional $1,162,500 from the St. John River Water Management District to continue with the installation of a technological advanced nutrient removal unit in the Wekiva Glen neighborhood. This amount represents 75% of the cost shared, and the city of Apopka will be contributing an additional 25%. This amendment adds 1.1 to the existing cost share agreement to continue this project. It extends the completion deadline to March the 30th, 2025. With the existing cost share program with St. John River Water Management District, 30 IDWTS units were already installed and functional in the Wekiva Spring neighborhood. We received $337,500 from the St. John River Water Management District, which covers 75% of that cost, and the city provided an additional $112,500, representing 25% of the total cost. So what I'm saying here, that we already construct 30 IDWTS unit already using existing fund from the St. John River Water Management District. And this fund of $1,162,000 that was provided to us was additional fund for us to continue this program. The original intent of the cost share is to help cover the cost to install this technological advanced nutrient well removal unit within the priority focus area of the Wekiva Spring. Back when we construct those 30 units, On-Site Performance LLC is the only sequence batch reactor vendor vetted by FDEP from the Florida marketplace that can perform complete turnkey operation of this unit. And we have developed a master service agreement with them to perform this service of installation and maintenance and monitoring of the system. Several questions was raised by the council at our October 18, 2023 meeting, and the answer were provided at our November 15, 2023 presentation on who is responsible for the unit, lifespan of the unit, repair to the existing unit, cost of the long-term ownership, benefit of the system, and what is the long-term strategy for the program, and how would it cost to convert these homeowners to central sewer, how much it will cost. At the conclusion of the November 15, 2023 presentation, Council gives specific direction to add the following item to the existing program for the final consideration. Those directions were a written process on the IDWTS program and the responsibility of each party, because I think Council feel that this program was a pilot program, there were no process in place, and they asked me to go ahead and develop a process. There was also a discussion here about who will be responsible for the full cost replacement at the end of the service life of this unit. From the master agreement point of view, it was unclear whether On-Site will be responsible or not. Between the November 2023 presentation and present, Council member met with the representative of On-Site to discuss their concern with the current program and for the future installation. During this meeting, On-Site agreed to revise the master service agreement to clarify the language about exactly what is covered under the service portion of the agreement, including full replacement of the unit if they fail to reach the end of the service life. So in that case, they take full responsibility to replace that unit because it's a part of a vehicle of that system. Based on the direction of at the November 2023 presentation, we have prepared a resolution 2024-23, which is a part of your package, which depicts the minimum condition of approval for the individual distributed wastewater treatment system conversion. The main item of the resolution 2024-2023 indicate that the city wishes to expand the project and integrate individual distributed wastewater treatment system in the Wekiva Glen neighborhood. The participation in this program continue to be voluntary, and any installation of an IWTS unit requires submittal of an applicant, approval by the city, and is subject to certain standard and condition. In order to facilitate the conversion of a septic tank to IWTS unit on private property, the city wishes to establish a minimum standard and condition for each participating party. So the main item of that resolution governs Section 2, which shows the property owner responsibility as set forth in Exhibit A. Also in Section 3, we have the on-site performance responsibility as set forth in Exhibit B. Section 4, the City of Apopka responsibility as set forth in Exhibit C. And Section 5, in which we have the City of Apopka subject to distributed sewer customer application as set forth in a full in Exhibit D. And Section 6, the City of Apopka utility service and hold harmless agreement set forth in the full Exhibit E. So what I did here was to make sure that each one of those exhibits properly describe the intent of what the council asked me to do to set up the process and to not leave anything out to the best of my ability and staff ability here. The highlight, I just want to make one correction though to Exhibit D that I just mentioned here. I sent an email. In Exhibit D, this Section 5, there was an inadvertent line that should have been taken out that was left in that exhibit. On page 2 of that exhibit, I sent an email to each one of the council member here, and I described it that the subject to sewer distributed customer service, page 2, paragraph 2, the statement on line 5 after the word field need to be removed and has been overstriked to the period for your ease of finding, ending in line 7 after the word installation. So that entire sentence after the word field, right, I had removed, need to be removed. So I provide you the overstrike in an email, as well as I provided the corrected version of that. So I just wanted to make sure I verbatim it here is because it was too late for me to post the revision of that exhibit.
I'm sorry, you said you sent us an email
Yeah.
today?
No, it was sent on Tuesday, February the 20th, 2024, at 6:13 a.m. Well, in case
Oh, I
you,
see what you, yeah.
right,
correct.
you got it? Okay.
So for the sake of the people that are in this room that don't have any idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The client application or the resident application for requesting one of these there was a statement in there that was counter to what Dio just said regarding the modification in the master service agreement to say that the on-site would be taking care of the replacement cost if it failed or at the end of useful life. And so that was strucken, is that a word?
Right, it was taken out.
Stricken.
It was taken out.
From that application verbiage.
Right, because the responsibility now is taken by on-site and not in the full service life of this is not on the with the homeowner anymore. Now, the highlight of the property owner responsibility I outline here, but this is a part of it that is in the resolution. I just depict the important point here, right, for reference. I also show here the highlight of the on-site well performance LLC responsibility. The main highlight here is the last item during the term of the master service agreement full replacement of the unit if it were to fail or reach the end of its service life will be their responsibility. And as well as highlight of the city of Apopka, where responsibility is outlined there. And this was all in the part of the resolution, which is in front of you. So with that, I have really provided the resolution which established the process, and as well as on-site take full responsibility in the replacement of the structure. And what they have done, we have also added in your package the first amendment to the master agreement, which exactly stated that, and revised section 8, right, of that agreement, that stated that they are going to take full responsibility should at the service life, should the structure fail or at the service life. So with that, the request here to the council is to approve the St. John River Water Management Cost Sharing Bill Amendment 4, which with the addition of the existing fund equal $1,178,737 to fully realize this project. Adopt the resolution number 2024-03 for the minimum condition of the individual distributed wastewater treatment system defining well the following: property owner responsibility, on-site performance LLC responsibility, City of Apopka responsibility, the septic to sewer, sewer customers application, the City of Apopka utility service whole harmless agreement. These were all exhibited in the package. And approve the use of the master agreement with its amendment defining what repairs and replacement are covered under the operation and maintenance. And with that, I'm here to answer, well, any questions, since those were the requests that you asked of us in order for this program to continue. And I don't know if you have any comment on those information that was provided to you.
Okay, any questions for Dio?
I always have questions, but I'll go last.
Sure.
I'll let others talk.
Then I'll go first.
People probably cringe when I talk.
My question is, in the highlights that you have for us, the city's responsibility, the last bullet says that the city would take over the operation and maintenance of the units if the master service agreement ceases for any reason. What would be the reason the agreement would cease?
Well, if by some chance that on-site or us decided that we no longer wanted them to perform the service, then that unit belongs to the city. So we will have to take over that service. Well, it is just there. I do not see that forthcoming, is because from the master well agreement and the way it is written is that both parties have to agree to renew it every 5 years.
And just to follow up on that too, isn't it a piggyback with Lake County? So if Lake County cancels their contract, wouldn't that cancel ours?
No, this has nothing to do with Lake County. We're not
doing that anymore.
No, we're not doing that anymore.
Got it.
We just amend the original master agreement, which came to the board back in 2021.
Okay, sorry.
Mr. Becker?
Yeah, a few things. I mean, and I don't want my comments in all the prior sessions, and even with meeting with the on-site representatives when I did here at City Hall, my issue wasn't necessarily on their side. It was more, now we're getting to the point where this has gone from a proof of concept to now it's going to be something that we're kind of extending further and further on within Wekiva Glen. And so my concern was always kind of centered in the operationalization of this program. And I still have yet to see that, because when we look at the City of Apopka responsibilities, I'll just name a few as I'm going on the list. Oversee the application, approval, and installation process of each unit. Meaning, we've got boots on the ground that are looking at the installation of these units.
That's correct.
Hand in hand with on-site. Who on your staff is doing that?
The inspector from our section. The inspector, the construction inspector from our section.
Okay. And then collaborate and assist on-site performance with complying with the permits issued by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Monitor all data generated by on-site for completeness and accuracy. This one's big. Take steps to ensure the complaints and or requests for service by property owners are timely addressed and that any needed repairs are completed in a timely manner. Yet we're not the ones repairing it, right?
Right.
On-site is the one that's repairing it.
Right. It's like this. We have a contract. The master agreement is like we hired on-site to perform this service. And we are just making sure that whatever in that contract, right, that we are supervising them to make sure that service performed properly.
In the time since our last meeting, do you all have standard operating procedures written that document how we address each one of these topics? I'd mentioned it last time when I talked about operationalizing this effort. Do we have procedures on how people need to go about doing these things?
Like meaning what?
So
if you have
if your inspector decided tomorrow to go to a different city and work, that expertise walks out of the city. Person that you hire says, hey, I don't know the first thing clue about on-site systems. Ideally, you would hand them a procedure that says, hey, here's what you need to do when you go install one of these things, or here's what you need to look for when you're inspecting it, this, that, and the other. All the things that are outlined from a city responsibility perspective.
Right. I don't have anything specific to this, but I can tell you, for each one of our jobs that we inspected, there is a checklist, right? We have not, I am not aware that one was developed for this, right, a checklist, but that is something can be done pretty easily. That is something I may have missed from your conversation the last time.
Yeah. I mean, that was my whole spirit in what I talked to the on-site.
Right, but that's very simple.
My issue is more about how we internally as a city look at this program and make sure that it's, when residents that leverage it, our employees know how to interact with our residents more so than on-site representatives. Because we talked at length, I know the value of your product, but more it's how are we going to look at this? Because in fact, taking that language out of the application puts that burden back on us, the city, versus the homeowner that's benefiting from that distributed wastewater system. So I have full confidence that on-site is going to succeed and be around for 30 years. But I also have to plan for contingency to say that they're not. And so if they were to go out of business or cease to exist, all of that burden then becomes on the city versus the homeowner, the way that it's currently written within this resolution.
Right, but that same argument can be made because if we are going to put in, say, for example, a sewer system, and we apply for a grant in order to do that, we have to own that system, right? And we are responsible if something happened to that system, we still have to maintain it. The same thing here, the grant condition is that if we are going to use the money from that grant, we have to own this unit. The grant given to the municipality, and the municipality have to have the ownership of that unit and the responsibility for it. So the homeowner here, right, is not getting the grant. The grant is solely given to the city as a part to perform this service. Just like if I have the water treatment plant and I want to do an expansion and there's a grant that is available, the city own that unit. I will apply for that grant, right? And I may get a cost sharing to go ahead and expand something, but that unit and the responsibility is within the city of Apopka.
I'll wait and hear the rest of the comments because it sounded like public comment was forthcoming.
Right. Jeff, you want to say something? Yeah, okay.
Anybody else on the dais?
No, because I had spoken in depth to Mr. Deodat. Now, the only concern that I have is that if for some reason on-site decides to walk away from this, we're going to be responsible for the vessel, the entire product, that's the septic tank. Is that the agreement that we're signing on to?
That is correct. Just like a lift station. If we put in a lift station, we put in any set, well, for the city, we are responsible. We got a grant to do it. We are responsible, well, for the system. This is the same thing that apply here. We use grants in order to help the system. We have to own that system, or else we are not going to get the grant.
Well, I think the only, and I, great point, echoed point, and I think the point that Commissioner Velasquez as well as Commissioner Becker are trying to make is that this is not one wastewater treatment plant, it's however many, 125 different wastewater treatment plants that have the same whatever unit that may break down over and over and over. Not saying it will, but to what's been already made is that it's just contingencies on those, that it's, I hear your point, but it's 120 of these now that we got to make sure staff, and I've talked to some staff members that echoed that this is concerning if it would fall back on them just because of staffing in general. So it's a concern for sure on that, in that it's multiple wastewater treatment plants, 120.
Right.
So.
Right. I can understand each one of the sentiments here, but the big picture is if this is a system that is available to us that perform certain treatment, assume we're not engaged with this. Do we have the funding to put in these sewer system? It's cost $1 million. For this subdivision, it's 191 homes. You put a $14 million dollars have to put in place. The other thing you have to think about, when you associate it, connect to the sewer system, you are then increasing the capacity at the plant because all this now is going to the plant. So you have to think of getting a new plant faster because all these things are going to the plant. In this case, you have this individual system are working independently. They're reducing well their capacity. The only gamble here that you are taking, if on-site was to just disappear from the planet, right, we will have to make sure that we have people in place like a water, to manage well the system. Their software is on the cloud, I think. So we will still have the proprietary software to use. It is not something that is hard to use. We also have a computer, right? And we also just have to get a specialist water resource operator to manage well a program and find a contractor who can perform this remediation electrical stuff to do. You want to go ahead, Jeff?
Thank you, Dudat. Jeff Littlejohn with Onsite Performance. Commissioner Velasquez and Commissioner Nessa, I appreciate your concerns about what happens, what happens if something happens to us. Dio said what happens if we get, would you say? Wipe off the planet. We certainly don't want to do that. We have invested years and years and years to develop this program, to develop this technology right here in this area. We put our very first one in 2017 at the Lake Apopka Field Station for St. John's, tested it for 4 years for the state of Florida, all under that close supervision to make sure that we got product approval so we can go out and help communities like the city of Apopka. We're committed to this program. I'm from Florida, born and raised. My kids are all Floridians. We want Florida's water quality to improve, and we're here to help address the septic tank issue. But specific to, I know that's just emotional gobbledygook, but specific to your question, Commissioner Nesta, all of the components inside in the unit actually are off-the-shelf components. Anybody could go, buy a replacement part from a Grainger catalog. We can and will and would turn over all of the plans to maintain all of the equipment. We do provide an operation and maintenance manual when we work with a partner. And regarding the software, which is truly the only proprietary piece, if we all got, wiped off the face of the planet, according to our master service agreement, the license to the software, so the IP would actually go to the city of Apopka. Right? So if something happens to us, you own our software. At that point, any water technology company or service technical company, a Water US or an equivalent company like that, they could be hired and replace us. And in fact, our long-term growth strategy is to have, and we already do have one here, a trained technician that is a resident of this area that can service and maintain these units. And we want to continue to grow that workforce so that we're not having to dispatch on-site technicians ourselves, but have contract technicians that know how to operate our equipment. So this is not, we're not trying to maintain this as a black box mystery technology. We're trying to get this to the point where this is ubiquitous and an easy turnkey solutions for utilities that can't reach everybody. Because that's really the challenge is utilities do a great job of servicing the customers they can reach, but the customers they can't reach or it's uneconomical to reach, there's now a technology and a product that can provide wastewater treatment services to those customers, and that allows us to get rid of the septic tanks. I hope
Thank you for
that
that
was
clarity.
helpful. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
the opportunity.
Any other questions for Dio or for Jeff?
No,
Okay.
thank you for
Public
that
comment?
explanation.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, my name is Tony Philcox. I live at 927 Crest Court in Apopka, and that's in the Wekiva Glen neighborhood. And we are one of the customers, one of the recipients of this system. And I do want to speak in support of that. I can remember back in maybe 4 or 5 years ago where we had Mayor Nelson come out to our homeowners association and spoke about, the benefits of such systems. That is, that it would reduce nitrogen by 90% if we were to install that system. I was on the septic system. That septic system had been in place for about 36 years. And so I knew very well that pretty soon that thing is going to fail. So I needed to do something about it. And when Mayor Nelson came and spoke about this opportunity, I said, that's a good one. So we proceeded, and I think they broke ground at our house in May of 2021, where we got the system installed. And I can tell you that OnSite has been very studious, conscientious, responsible in putting the system in to start with, and then maintaining it as it went along. Yeah, we pay a monthly fee of about $40 to the city, and it costs us about $3,400 for the new drain field to make sure that that operated correctly with the new system. So I knew that was going to be a cost, but that was at a reduced rate. So we were pleased about that one. So I can't say enough positive things about OnSite. In fact, my daughter and son-in-law were also put the system in as well. And some of my neighbors who I've spoken with, they have the system in. And we're all very pleased as far as I know. I don't think there's any complaints about it. We seem to be doing very well with the system installed. So I just want to let the city council know that this is a good system. I encourage support for it, and we have been the beneficiaries, and we thank you, Mr. Mayor, for all your proactiveness related to this project. So I hope it continues, because what's at stake is our waterways, and Wekiva Basin and some of the systems that connect to that. If you have sewage, the septic systems, they're not good for the environment. And I think this system is a way to solve the problem. So I encourage support for it. Thank you.
Thanks for coming out tonight.
Well, I know a little bit about poop. And I know one thing, that that's a lot of money to put these individual septic treatment plants in. It's not against this man's company, but those would be ideal in remote areas, such as Rock Springs Run areas, place like that. But when you got 100 and something residents inside the city limits, and you're going to force a $50,000 treatment plant in their yard, even though it's part of it's funded by St. John's Water Management, you're sticking it to the citizens. It'd be almost just as feasible as giving them a fee, whatever you call it, I can't think of it now, and put in sewer lines. Christine Moore did it at the far end of Welch Road. The county's done it. Then there's the maintenance of maintaining this. Nothing against your man's company again. But it's not an everyday occurrence that you got to fix these things. And I'll be honest with you, God built the best filtration system ever made to mankind. It's Mother Earth. After 16 to 18 inches of filtration, that water is clean. Yes, the drain fields fail sometime. You have to go in and put a new drain field in. You clean them out. They're inspected by the health department. Clean them out, put new filtration sand in, and put a new drain system in. What started all this was the nitrogens and stuff into the Wekiwa River Basin. But I'm just thinking, before y'all go and prove and making these citizens pay that kind of money, please look into it. Like I said, I'm not trying to tell the man he don't know what he's doing, but these are excellent systems for someone isolated. But when you're in the neighborhood, a lift station works perfect. And so has God's soils all these years. Most of our nitrogens are for fertilization on the grasses.
Okay. Let's hold comment.
Albert McKimmey, 3603 Golden Gem Road. When this item came up previously on the agenda here, it was quite a contentious issue with a lot of discussion. And at the time, I was a little bit confused by it all, and I decided I would look much more deeply into it. Based on my experience in the UK in building, I had done quite a bit of work on septic systems, and I knew that a septic system very rarely goes wrong. So my thoughts were, I need to do a risk assessment, and I need to work out just at what point these come to a break-even situation. It's all about alternatives. There's always an alternative. We could put in sewers, we could put in septic. The fact of the matter, if we choose to put in this septic system and keep the money that we currently have for the infrastructure for the sewers, and we have that in compound interest at 5%, which tends to be what the city projects, it doesn't take long for these systems to come back and pay themselves off for the city. In fact, the reason I have changed my mind and I'm now in favour of the system is it really doesn't take that many years, provided the system doesn't go wrong, before the compound interest that you obtain from not putting in the sewers would actually pay for a whole new sewer system should the system not work. So you're effectively in a no-lose situation. If you go with this just now and take your money and invest it and get compound interest, you might actually be financially a lot better off in the future if these systems are as safe and secure as I think they are. Now, the only concern I had at the time was the proprietary software. I wondered, what if? Well, what if Microsoft stopped working tomorrow? You have other operating systems. You have Apple and you have Linux. So there's always going to be another operating system. And I suspect with this, if anything happened and the software system was no longer available to the city, and we've had assurances here that it will be, there would be some other person come along and design an operating system. In fact, my first thought was, should this go on for a number of years, it might actually be a cost saving to provide an alternative operating system for there so that you're not paying for proprietary software. But at this particular point, if you sit down and work out the compound interest and the money that's available to the city from not using sewers, then you're going to find that it doesn't take that long to actually work out that we would be in a no-lose situation by going this and wait until a later date to make a decision on putting in sewers.
Anybody else from the public wish to speak? You can just lower the.
There. Oh, there.
There you go.
Good evening. I'm Bobby Boy,
You
2317.
speaking to
Boy
the
Scout.
night. There you go.
Okay. Hi. I'm Bobby Boy, 2317 Boy Scout Road, across from all the bare dirt, now 260 acres of it. They were talking about the fields before and the upkeep of them. They need roads to get there that are not full of potholes. I don't know if some of that money goes into roads or it comes out another fund. But that's something that, and they're I've reported some a few times, but they get fixed after a while. the engineering flood zones. This deal with putting my house that's way above my neighbor's house, she's not in a flood zone. And I'm about 5 foot higher than her and 700 foot from the pond and about 14 to 15 feet above the pond level. And they're wanting to put my rental house into flood zone, Citizens does. And I'm having to, I guess, debate that. I finally contacted an attorney on it because they want me to pay flood insurance. And I shouldn't be in it, but they're talking about putting all of Florida as a total flood state for any information by 2027. And that's not a good thing. They said that our area is all listed as AE, and my property comes up, has a couple of steeper grades, and it shouldn't be in a flood zone. And flooding, they talk about the waters and rains from across the street are going to be retained only on the south side of Boy Scout Road. And of course, I'm on the north side. But they said it's been engineered. If they'll go over to Harmon, they're at Binion, just about 100 foot from Binion, where the entrances to subdivisions going north and south are not subdivisions, but apartment houses. With a nice rain, that gets to be about 8 inches deep in the middle of the road over the grate, the drainage, and people have to drive through that. So that was probably also engineered. So engineering to keep water from going onto my place doesn't fill me with confidence, like FDA approved type of thing. Anyway, that was, oops, that's not mine. But it was just sort of things that were cropping up during all this stuff. And septic tanks, septic fields are a good thing. Percolates very well. And about 4 days after I rain up in Kentucky and Arkansas, that filters through the aquifer. It takes about 4 days to get from there to here. And that also helps cleanse down here too. Okay, it was just bullet points as far as the potholes and the flooding and being forced into doing septic tanks or city water and stuff like that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak on this matter? Sure.
Yep, it's. My name's John Nee, 1850 Cedar Glen Drive. I'm also in Wekiva Glen. I guess I'm one of those where the rubber meets the road kind of situations. My septic is failing and needs to be replaced. I can't afford $50,000. So I have the option, because I'm not building new, I'm repairing, I can go with the old system. That's what I can afford. And I imagine there's a lot of other people in that same situation. So if I do that, I'm making a 20-year investment or a 30-year investment, however long that system's gonna go. I would much rather go with the new technology and benefit the Wekiva River Basin. So for me, it's that, it's real. And because something's going to happen within the next couple of months for me. And so that's why I would encourage you to go ahead and adopt it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Anybody else wish to speak on this one? All right, if not, we'll close the public hearing.
I just had a couple quick questions, just clarifying. Sure. To confirm, the grant money that we will be receiving cannot be used elsewhere. Like, we can't use it to increase capacity anywhere else. It has to be used on this program, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. Or we lose it.
That's correct.
Okay. The total cost to install, is that accurate at 50,000-ish?
No, 16.5.
No, 16.5.
16.5.
Total cost?
Yeah, total cost.
It's-
Without the grant, without anything?
Right, 75% by DEP and St. John's, and the other 25%
And 25% by us.
Correct. So
Okay.
4,500 something.
Yes.
And to confirm, there's no cost to the homeowner for install? No. Or for the
Right.
Other
Right,
than
but-
if the drain field.
Right, and they pay a maintenance fee for the maintenance of the structure and the electricity.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. right.
Yeah, I mean, and we've had the conversation that the software, the intellectual property, I'm sure sits in escrow someplace. That, to your point, doomsday scenario, we get that out of escrow and we're able to apply it however we need to. And like I said, we had that conversation. I mean, I get the model. It's not the product that I have concerns with. It's more about really how is the city going to manage this program? Yeah, it's bullet points are fine to get consensus from council, but Commissioner Nesta touched on the point too. Employees within your public services area have concern about who's going to do this, what's the expectation going to be, what are my procedures for doing something on these things if it's their butt on the line in terms of getting something done. I think you just need to have assurances of your own staff to make sure that you're on top of this.
Well, the water, if you look at our wastewater treatment plant right now, we have a SCADA system. We manage that right now. So if the system was a similar system here, we just have to have, because of the permit condition and the independent system, we just have to have a computer and a water resource person with that experience to sit on that computer and manage that system, because we are doing it on a larger scale right now with our water treatment plant. Because we have a SCADA system there. Well, with the proprietary software, I'm sure when we have access to this, we can able to use it. It's in the cloud, so it's something you can just go on the internet and you have instruction and you can use it. We are not managing that right now, but I appreciate your point, because it is, if we are going to provide with a manual, I'm sure they're going to have all its instruction, and we can develop a working policy to be kept, for staff should there be any adverse situation will occur, in the future. So I can assure you, once I get the operation manual, right, we will have to train staff, right, how the system works, so that if something should happen, they can able to manage it by themselves. And I'm sure Jeff will be willing to assist us, right, with a training program or so forth in going forward here.
All right, well, looking for a motion, no other comments from the dais, let's see here, to approve the FY 23-24 individual distributed wastewater treatment system conversion project.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
We can take a quick 5-minute break.
Sure. Meeting back to order. Blanche.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Business item number 4, the proposed investment portfolio composition by security type. On October 18, 2023, the City Investment Advisor Morgan Stanley presented the proposed changes and revisions to the city's investment policy for review and consideration. On December 6, 2023, Council approved Resolution 2023-40, amending ordinance number 873, and amending and restating the investment portfolio policy of the City of Apopka. On February 7, 2024, the city's investment advisor, Glenn Scott, presented to council an update on the current holdings, the investment policy restrictions, and some long-term goals. They had a suggestion then to make some changes to our portfolio to diversify the program, moving funds from Seacoast, Synovus, and SBA into treasuries, notes, and other various investments according to our policy. Due to concerns regarding those deposits in our local banks and the potential impact on the future withdrawals, council requested additional information from staff pertaining to whether the local banks' interest rates will change as a result of those withdrawals. Staff contacted those banks to address those concerns. Synovus Bank responded with no change. The current rate will remain the same. Seacoast Bank, however, responded with a decrease in the rate from 5.5% to 5.3% based on those estimated withdrawals that was proposed to council. As a result, the city investment advisor is now recommending a proposal of just $15 million in withdrawal, $5 million in a treasury note that will expire on January 31st, 2025, another $5 million for an additional treasury note expiring on January 31st, 2026, and $5 million invested in a bond with Apple 2.45, expiring on 8/4/2026. Based on projections of the federal funds rate, interest rate used by Morgan Stanley, and with their Bloomberg WIRP system, consensus projections, the securities will earn roughly about $200,000 more over their period of time until maturity. And they suggest that you take the funds only from Synovus Bank. So that is the proposal before you for consideration.
Okay, any questions from Blanche?
So I'll start. To confirm, is any of this money going to be in a Colorado account in any capacity?
No.
Has any money been moved to Colorado in any capacity at all in the last 2, 3, 5, 10, 40 years?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. So anybody that continues to state that is just wrong and lying.
Well, it's not correct. Our funds are in the banks as indicated, Synovus, Seacoast, and
I just wanted to make sure that. And what I like about this too, they help to stipulate in this is that because of their advice, they're going to be making us $200,000 more than what we would have otherwise.
That's
so
their
their fee of $45,000, they've already paid for themselves a few times over because of this recommendation, just this one recommendation alone.
that's the projection.
Okay. All right. And we're not moving any money out of Seacoast, correct? Because they're giving a really attractive rate.
Right. The
Okay.
funds, we're not moving any funds from Seacoast. This is all coming from Synovus.
And then
It's-
do you know what the remaining balance of Synovus will be once these funds are moved?
Yes. The remaining balance for Synovus will be about 84.4 million.
Okay.
The current balance as of January 31st is about 99.4.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Or anybody else at the dais want to weigh in?
When we make this investment, who's going to be the custodial bank?
Synovus.
Synovus.
Mhm.
So again, just to reiterate,
Mhm.
it doesn't physically get taken out of there and
Yeah.
sent to Colorado.
It doesn't go to Colorado. What the funds are, Synovus is our bank, our custody bank. They hold the securities. The funds will go to where we're purchasing, the treasury notes and the bonds from. Those funds we have to pay. So we have to pay for the treasury notes and the bonds.
It
But
won't
the
be- It won't be
securities,
deposits at the bank. They will be treasuries, completely
Securities.
different deposit.
so we do have to transfer that 15 million to those brokers to pay for those treasury notes and the bond.
And I think people need to understand again why this whole Colorado thing's come up. Back when we approved the investment policy, the idea that all this money was leaving the banks and going to sit in Colorado, because that's where Morgan Stanley listed their corporate location is. So that's where the Colorado thing is coming. It's totally misinformed. Back when we selected Morgan Stanley, there was no local outfit that wanted to do this anyhow. That was not bid, nor did we select from a list of people that included Seacoast or Synovus or some other entity that is located within the city of Apopka. So I want to be clear that, because it's been brought up a couple times, that that's where the Colorado thing comes from, because it is getting put out there in the public realm and unfairly so. No, but this is, 15 million will be taken out of deposit from Synovus and put into other investment securities that will yield what they're projecting. Simple as that.
Yes. Long term.
Anybody from public, I guess?
John Cloran, 593 Usler Road in Apopka. On this moving the money from Apopka, though you're not moving the money, you're giving it to Morgan. Have you bothered to read the fact that they're laying employees off? Who is their local representative? Who do we have in Apopka that represents that? Mr. Becker, since you brought it up, who's our representative?
Morgan Stanley is a pretty sound.
Who is the representative, sir?
You would have to ask our investment advisor.
You brought it up, I'm asking you.
I don't have that contact.
Okay.
Morgan Stanley's a pretty large organization. The gentleman that was here on multiple occasions.
He flew in.
Correct.
He's not local.
He's our contact.
What happens if he leaves?
Last time I checked, there's email, digital capabilities, telephone calls.
What happens if he leaves? Same thing you asked
Sir,
the guy
that's a
with the
scenario
septic system.
that's not going to happen.
Okay, you're willing to take money and put it somewhere else, even though it's not going to officially be in Apopka at a local bank,
Yes, sir. Morgan Stanley is a pretty reputable company.
but yet they're laying off employees. It was
Employees
made,
do that all the time. Apple does that too. Is Apple going under?
but I don't deal with Apple that way. I'm looking for a local representative that the city of Apopka can walk in. You guys just want to move it because you don't like the bank people.
That's a great take.
It's a take.
Anybody else from the public want to speak on this one? Okay. Bring it back to the council.
So that is the motion.
I would move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Becker, second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All
Thank you.
opposed?
Oh.
Aye. So 4-1, Mayor voting in opposition.
So you prefer not to make more money for our residents then?
That's their projection. I guess we'll find out in 18 months. So we'll find out. Okay. Next up, Magnolia Terrace.
Good evening, Bobby Howell, Planning Manager. On December 15th, 2021, the City Council adopted ordinance number 2888, which rezoned 95 acres to PD for the proposed Magnolia Terrace plan development. Property is located east of South Benyon Road and south of Willett Avenue. In addition to the adoption of the ordinance number 2888, the City Council adopted a PD master plan and a PD agreement. Following the adoption of the PD master plan, PD agreement, and ordinance, the original developer, Meritage Homes, opted not to construct the project, never signed the PD agreement. Subsequently, a new developer purchased the project and has provided a revised PD agreement reflecting changes that are relevant to the new development. Unit count remains the same at 300. However, townhome units increased by 1, single family decreases by 1. Additional changes include a noted increase in the wetland area, increasing karst area and change of reference of proposed density to proposed net density. Based on that, staff recommends approval. The applicant is available for questions, and staff is as well. If you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Bobby?
Who's the new developer for this one then?
We met with them. They are, is it Heartline Homes? Yes.
What is it?
Heartline Homes.
Okay.
Yes. Partisan Homes. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve the Magnolia Terrace Plan Development Agreement.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta, second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, City Council reports. Commissioner Velasquez, why don't you start us out?
Is he still here? Yesterday I spoke with Ms. Deborah Green from the Audubon Society regarding a lease that we have. I'm sorry, thank you. Thank you. For Magnolia Park, she has some concerns about the building being in disrepair and the longer it takes for the lease to be agreed upon.
We table that one, Dio.
Okay.
So, yeah, I just wanted, Bradley's been in communication with Deborah Green, so I thought let him.
I know, she did say that, but she said she's not getting,
Yeah, I'm hoping to have that back to council here shortly. We did receive back their next version of comments on the lease agreement. So there were a couple of things I got to review with the city attorney and the city administrator and the mayor before we bring that back to council.
can you just give me a time frame? Because, when I spoke to her, and, she has some concerns that it's been sitting here, the lease, and,
Yeah, I can try to get that back to you next month. At the next
month, the
March,
6th?
yeah.
Okay.
What property is that
I just want to
for?
give her some assurance
Birding
that,
Park on Lust Road.
Thank you.
okay. And we kind of touched upon, the articles from the Apopka chief, which I've been collecting, and I mean, all the articles that were written were asking the public to reach out to us regarding the investment, but at the same time, it had to do with the from the 3% to the 10%, and I actually questioned our CFO and said, what does one have to do with the other? And basically, she said it's two different topics. So I guess at some point, we should discuss the what the chamber is asking us to do. And I'm wondering, what's the benefit for us? And
Well, I think Blanche is going to come back in two meetings and kind of go over what other cities and municipalities have as far as a preference for local
right, because
and/or.
my concern was, you had mentioned that if we were to put this in place, then we would need someone in staff to follow this, to kind of supervise it. So thank you. I appreciate if you can come back with some of that. And again, I mean, all the articles here, one had nothing to do with the other because it kind of segued from the investment into that. And so I was wondering why one was segueing into the other, but thank you for that clarification. Pretty much, we went to the Apopka Police Department Awards, so congratulations to Mr. Olson, Rod Olson, who is here all the time, and a big advocate for the schools and of course, for Central Florida soccer team, so congratulations to him. And we have upcoming Music to My Mind, which is a community band that we support here, and it'll be on March 3rd, which is a Sunday at 7 o'clock. And so we look forward to seeing our community come out and and support Maestro Mr. Taylor for that event. And that's pretty much it for me on this side.
Okay, Commissioner Becker.
Yeah, we already talked about a couple things during public comment that I wanted to bring up, but like I said before, Mr. Klepper's comments are not lost on me. You know, having attended that last pension board and hearing the thoughtfulness and the methodology that our actuary uses to produce what they anticipate the long-term position being, factoring in salaries, economic conditions, and so forth. It sounded like it had its own merit and should be trusted. And again, we're at a point where we've been in these negotiations for quite some time. And if it's going to come back to this council anyways, going through a magistrate or whatever, they're going to have opinions. But ultimately, the five of us, or whoever's on this council at the time, know our people the best. And I don't know why it wouldn't come back to us at this point, and let's just get to the finish line. So I know that we all received an email talking about, motioning to do all this stuff. But I said the last meeting, if we don't have real clear traction or direction, which I'm not hearing much, I would move to bring the negotiations to this council and let us decide the fate of our firefighters. We know our budget. We know what our last 3 years look like, what our future 3 years want to look like in terms of how much we've spent, how much we want to budget, what should, total percentage of general fund look like in terms of funding our public safety organizations. Let's just do the hard work, bring it back to this council, and put it to rest. Let people go about their jobs. It's been going on for, I don't know how long, over a year, that this has been in limbo. So I would move that, I don't know what the proper language would be, but that we are in an impasse right now and that we bring negotiations back to the city council.
Why are we asking for another actuary study if we use, they brought two already. We have the one that we actually use for all the, for general, right, for fire and police. We rely on that actuary report. Then we ask the fire department to get an outside insurance, not insurance, for an actuary report. You brought that in. And what was the result of that? I missed the last, I apologize, I missed the last pension meeting, but our mayor is the chair of that
No.
pension.
I'm the chair of the fire.
Oh, you're the chair?
And I can speak to that if there needs to be clarity.
Sure. Why don't
Let's go to Cliff.
Well,
I'd
I'd like
just-
to hear from both.
Yeah. Look, I'm not a labor attorney, and I didn't stay in the Holiday Inn Express last night, although I would like to tonight. The reality is that I think it would be wise to go back and at least either individually speak to Mr. Mandel or invite him to come and speak to you guys at the next meeting. The reason for that is there are certain rules regarding how negotiations are supposed to go, and I'm not positive, and I certainly don't want to get on a limb, but I don't think you guys can declare an impasse. Now, what I do think is that it is absolutely true that if they are at impasse, it's going to be back in front of you. And I've been through those before, and the Labor Council presents his or her position for whatever has been bargained that is at impasse. The issue is typically narrowed to what is exactly the disagreement. The union, and the prior case was a fire union, presents their side, and then the elected officials ultimately decide which way it goes. Either way, either in favor of or not in favor of the position of the union or the position of the labor lawyer. So that's what will ultimately happen. But I wouldn't want us to be out in front of declaring an impasse until we are certain that that's where we are from our person.
Impasse has already been declared.
It's declared.
Okay.
So what's happening now is just sitting dormant. And now we're getting conflicting reports. What Mr. Klepper said tonight, what Mr. Vavrick said the last meeting in terms of impasse, next steps, who's canceling, who's willing. It's a hot mess. And so The
the
next
good
step would
news,
go to some third-party magistrate, but the magistrate is going to bring their findings back to this council anyways.
The good news is you can go directly to Mr. Mandel, like you could go directly to me. You don't have to go through Mr. Vavrick or anybody else. And then if he says, yes, we can do that, or that's what should happen next, and there's no obstacles to it, you do not want to be on the wrong end of what's called an unfair labor practice. And so consequently, that's why I'm saying proceed with caution.
So if I can clarify my speaking points earlier this evening, we were stating in response to City Administrator Vavrick's comments last week, he said the fire union was the one who wanted to go to mediation. Mediation meaning the special magistrate as a third party before that report comes back to council and things move forward. I'm stating clearly today the fire union is willing to waive the special magistrate and bring it back to council. You are all able to make your own decision. I am not trying to influence you in any way, which is what your attorney is alluding to as an unfair labor practice. This is not a negotiation. We are clarifying that you were told misinformation at last council meeting. The fact is the fire union does not. We would happily mutually waive the special magistrate and bring our impasse articles to council. You can make your own decisions.
Here's what I would recommend then. If you want to try to have a shade meeting with Jeffrey before the next council meeting, and if that date doesn't work for him, I mean, he's a busy man, can you give me a couple other days where we can do a Zoom call as long as we're.
That's it.
little
The unique
dicey.
thing about labor mediations is that they're, or shade meetings, is they're so completely different than litigation. It's a complete privilege. It's very much different than the litigation one where we have to go through all these hoops. That being said, I still think it has to be requested by me or someone. And if that's, I have no problem requesting it, but generally that's followed by scheduling a date, which I can't promise that Mr. Mandel would be able to be here.
So what I'm suggesting is that we do a shade meeting prior to the next council meeting. And if Jeffrey Mandel's not available, can the council give me some dates and times that we could?
Well, we've done that at like a Zoom meeting before. I feel like we can do that just get schedules together.
I'm a little curious as to what the importance of the shade meeting would be at this point. So if we verbalize, okay, our current state at impasse.
Right.
There's two avenues. One would be go to the mediation, third party, whatever. Other option would be to come back to this council. Now, I'm not saying that coming back to this council has to be next meeting. What I am saying is that let's march down the path of bringing it back here. That's in the public, right? I mean, the negotiations would ultimately be open to the public for deliberation.
Not the negotiations, but the ultimate decision would be. So, for example, if we are at impasse, understood, and if Labor Council, after explaining to you whatever reasons they might have for wanting to go to a magistrate, because they might suggest to you that, hey, I know why they don't want to do it, but this is why we think you should do it. That's what I'm suggesting you should hear from Mr. Mandel. I just don't know what his position is because we haven't even discussed it. But assuming that he gives you a reason, or he says, no, that's fine, let's go right to the council, then you have your answer. But if he gives you a reason that says we should go through the magistrate and hear the reasons, and then you reject that, that's also fine. But at least you've heard him out, and I don't know what his reasons might be either way. I have no idea. I don't know anything about the issues in this thing. But I do know that from management side, we have to be very careful that we do everything by the book and don't accidentally skip steps. I understand, I appreciate the union president's position about we're waiving, understand, and that may be completely legitimate, but I do not know why, if there is a reason, Mr. Mandel doesn't want to do that. I don't even know what it would be. I have no idea. And I think you should at least hear him out, that's what I'm saying. And so if you set a shade meeting for the next council meeting, I will do my best to see if I can get him to be there. And if he tells me early on he can't or can't have someone who's familiar with the negotiations to be here, then I'll try to get some other dates. So that, I think, will get you the answer, because that would still not hold up the process. If the shade meeting is prior to the next council meeting, he could give you the input, and y'all could then tell him, we don't want to do any of that, and you could actually act on it that night to say, we want to have this brought back to us, and then schedule it from there.
So,
Because that's where it will end up.
so if we've got the council meeting on the 6th, what does everybody's calendar look like on the 7th? Just as a,
Why would we do it on the 7th?
if the 6th is not, if he's not available? Just trying to give him a couple of dates.
Well, we've done a Zoom meeting before. Why don't we just ask him, when are you available next week? And make ourselves available.
Well, that's
Next week, not the 7th, next week. He's got to have 30 minutes open for us next week.
Have y'all done labor shade meetings by Zoom before?
Yes.
Okay, and was there have to be a certain amount of, again, this is not my thing, so I don't know, did he have to provide a certain amount of advance notice?
I don't know.
See, that's, I want to check with him. But if it can be done earlier, no problem. So I'll do that. I can work through, I guess, Mrs. Bone or somebody to figure out your schedules. And if he can do it earlier and Zoom is okay and there's no notice issues, he's not going to object. He's just going to make sure we follow the process correctly.
Well, I just would like to remind council that Mr. Mandel is also the person that brought into the validity of the actuarial report that was done by Empower, which we don't know why. I know the city was doing a report. They were supposed to have it back today or by this council meeting. I thought I understood. Still don't see a report. I haven't heard of a report.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, and he's not here.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
If I understand correctly, try to get a meeting set up as quickly as possible, and I'll do that.
Yeah, and I want to set a formal motion just so that there's no question. I would move that we engage with Mr. Mandel to set up a shade meeting sometime at or before the next city council meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries now. Okay.
That's it for me.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
I just want to thank the council and the mayor for accepting my tardiness today and our citizens. It was a life and death situation. I'm going to leave it at that, that I had to take care of. And so that was my reason for being tardy.
Commissioner Nesta?
Yeah, I just have two events coming up. One is the cleanup day this Saturday between 8 and 11. It's Martin Street and Park Ave there. It's a city-owned property that has just been a little rough over the years, and it's actually where, back when I was in high school, I worked with then Commissioner Kathy Till to honor a war vet there, and then same thing on Grossenbacher. So we're cleaning up that area. I just want to remind everyone, anybody that wants to come out, we're planting some new plants, removing old ones, adding mulch. So it's going to be the northwest corner of Martin Street and Park Ave this Saturday between 8 and 11. And then I have, for the high school students, on March 2nd here in front of City Hall, it's a sidewalk chalk art competition for high school students that want to participate. I think it's going to be a really cool event and cash prizes, and got some judges lined up, and so it'll be a cool event. So that's it. Thank you.
All right. Cliff, you got anything else?
Mayor, I don't, I do have one thing, and that would be to talk about what happened last night. Am I right? My days are in, I think it was last night, Orange County Charter Review.
2 nights ago.
I copied you all on some information about a proposed charter amendment. Where it is now, they had the first reading of it on whichever night it was, Monday, Tuesday, I'm so confused. And there was a lot of discussion, pro and con, as you can imagine. The cities were con the amendment for the reasons that you would have imagined, the existing JPAs, which it would essentially breach, and the failure to recognize, even once a property is annexed into the city per the JPA, that our rules wouldn't apply, that the county comp plan would apply, and so forth, which is contrary to Florida statutes, which other people also brought up. Additionally, there was concern raised about, by me, but I wasn't the only one, about the unlimited liability you would create through the Byrd-Harris Act as it's currently amended. It used to be much more winnable than it is now. It's a very hard case to win now for a lot of reasons that I spelled out some of in the letter. My sense of it is there was Commissioner Nicole Wilson was there. She generally represents sort of the west side of I-4 cities, and at least ones that are involved here. And my sense of it is that she was going to encourage the charter review, and I think they were leaning in this direction. I think they probably actually went in this direction to send it back to the committee to see if it could address in some fashion this amendment to protect rural boundaries without walking all over the existing JPAs. I do not know where that will end up, and I wanted to make sure that, A, you got the letter that I prepared. I think I wrote it Monday, sent it Monday, and then went and spoke about it. I do think it's an important issue, but I was very careful to say that I was there on behalf of the mayor because you hadn't all weighed in. And so if you have contrary information or information you want to report to me that you want to make sure I convey, I told them last night that I do not yet speak for the whole council or the city. I'm just speaking for the mayor in his capacity as a strong mayor, but these are the concerns. And so that's what happened, and I'll keep an eye on it. And if you have any concerns or questions, please reach out. I'll do my best to answer.
You sent that Monday?
Yeah, it was Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, it came up quick. It was like Thursday or Friday when it hit, and so I obviously didn't have a chance to talk to the commission about the issue. But I mean, I know that West Winter Garden and Ocoee, their
Winter Garden,
attorney,
Oakland,
Kurt Arterman,
Ocoee, Windermere.
yeah, all of them were.
And it was really like this west side versus east side. And even there were even one or more commission members, charter commission members, who said, this really should be just for the east side, this whole thing. But anyway, for whatever it's worth,
Yeah.
I think they're going to attempt to not crush the JPAs, which is what the amendment as written would do.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll see where they end up.
This might be a united front up here. I mean, I think we fight for home rule powers all day long.
See, I'm trying to bring you together.
And this is basically stomping all over that. Now
It is. It's stomping over an existing contract,
right,
which is the real other
point
issue.
being, if we've done all the right things to annex property into our corporate city limits per the JPA, then it's up to this council and our codes to then reign supreme. I mean,
that's what the law says.
Right.
Are you able to resend that email? I can't
find that email.
I don't see it anywhere on my side.
But do we need to, like, in past, we've done like resolutions that we put up to the Florida League of Cities.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind doing that.
Absolutely. You won't be alone. But I am curious, Commissioner Smith, did you get a copy?
Yes.
And did you get one, Mr. Becker?
I recall seeing it.
Okay, so
When did you
I'll
say
send
it was
yeah.
Monday though?
It would have been Monday. Yeah, because
It would have
I
been
sent it out at
Monday?
the same time I sent it
Monday
to
around
them.
lunchtime. Is that? Yeah, he cranked it out right after lunch, like 2 o'clock, I think. Is talked to him Monday morning and yeah.
Monday being, here's this.
I got 4 emails that day. None of them are from you. Not saying you didn't send it. It's
I
could be
don't,
stuck
I don't,
somewhere.
I don't have it. I have Friday, Saturday.
Okay, it says
Sunday.
it says it's February 19th, and it says mayor and council, and there are, you guys obviously, as I always do, I blind copy so that you can't inadvertently copy one another or respond to one another. But yeah, I'll hit the resend.
What
button.
date
You'll have
was
it.
that? You said
The 19th.
Okay.
February
Let
the
me put
19th.
February 19th.
So we just want a motion to or just a statement of how we want to say is that we
Recommendation for denial.
we recommend that JPAs be held harmless or something.
Exempt. Probably exempt
Exempt from the.
from the charter, the proposed charter amendment.
Yeah, I don't even know how would you word that, Cliff? So we it narrows it right down to the issue that they were.
That one right there. That one right there.
You got Cliff, you got a potential motion for us?
Yeah, I moved, if I was writing the motion, it would be a motion to express by resolution, which I can draft for you by the next meeting.
Yeah.
Your objection and opposition to this charter amendment as written. If you want to throw in some language that you're not opposed to rural boundaries as a concept, but you are opposed to interference with existing JPAs, which were thought out, well-planned, all
Okay.
the other stuff that goes into that. And the good news, I got some good language from your planning department. I think Bobby wrote a good example about Kelly Park specifically, because we just did a form-based code. It was studied by environmentalists and landowners to get us to a place that would help us comply with the mandatory Kaiva River Protection Act. And they would literally, with this amendment, if it passes, toss that out, subject to lawsuits, but they would essentially say, we don't care what you did or what you agreed to or any of that stuff.
All right,
So-
go back. You've already gone over our motion, so give us our motion again.
Yeah, the motion is to have the city attorney prepare a resolution opposing the rural boundary amendment as it's currently drafted, to the extent that it interferes with existing rights under the joint planning area agreement.
All right, Commissioner Becker, you good with that one?
Yeah, so moved.
Okay, got a motion by Commissioner Becker.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion
And
carries.
if you could send it to me, I have searched, I don't.
I
have that.
just sent it again, so you.
You did?
Yeah, literally just 10 seconds ago, so you should have it now.
Yeah,
Should I check spam?
Did yours come through, Mr. Nesta?
I don't,
Got this one now, yes.
Okay.
yeah, I didn't see the original one either, but I remember
All right, I'll
reading
send it
something
again.
about the charter.
I'll put, I only sent it to those two, but I'll send it again, no problem.
Yeah, and you just sent it. Let me look in trash. No. I keep typing your name, Cliff.
Okay. Well, under the mayor's report, just two quick items. One, Tuesday, we're having the Wekiva High School and Apopka High School Career Education Fair. Be Tuesday morning at Wekiva High School, and then in the afternoon we'll be at Apopka High School. And just want a big shout out to my assistant, Stacy Van Camp, and Kate Manley for helping put this thing together. So basically, we are inviting the bottom third of the students at each high school to come to a career fair. So like Valencia Community College or Valencia State College now would be there. There's some technical programs out there that that are looking for students. We'll have all the military folks will be there as well. So we've got about, I think, over 30 companies or organizations that will be there to try to get kids, these are seniors, so they're ready to, what are they going to do when they graduate high school? So we're trying to get them maybe an idea. Maybe there's some education past high school that will get them a career and not just a job. So it's
Tuesdays, what now?
February 27th. Starts at Wekiva High School in the morning, and it'll be at Apopka High School in the afternoon. And then the second, which I brought up once before, just bring it up again, is the Legends of Apopka celebrating Black History Month. It'll be Tuesday night, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Apopka Community Center. We'll have booklets for sale there, and we're asking anybody that's got a family member or a friend that's being honored to come down and be a part of that, because we're really want to celebrate the lives and of these career makers, and so please come out and be a part of it. With that,